going on? I am Nando.
And I am DJ.
And I am burdened with glorious Diggins.
And this is Mostly Nitpicking, a podcast where every week we pick apart a piece of pop culture by looking exclusively at the details. Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Howdy, y'all.
Shocked nobody did the Owen Wilson. Maybe the easiest impression in the history of impressions.
You know what's crazy? I had no confidence in it. Wait, do you guys all want to try a wow?
I mean, like, sure.
Okay.
You go first if you want.
I'll go first, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Like,
Okay.
I feel like mine will probably sound exactly like yours. And then
I mean,
Diggins
I say
might be
go
a little
for
better.
it.
Wow. It's, it's Owen Wilson.
It's a little like a wow.
What are other things he says? There have to be like other lines he said in movies or this that we can use to form an impression that's bad, because that's what the people love, you know?
This baby, I gotta pay for braces, gotta pay for school.
It's the perfect marriage of form and function.
Hey, Zoolander, come on. Let's go
The
do
files
modeling.
are in the computer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was funny when he did that in that movie. Did you guys see the second Zoolander movie?
No.
It's bad.
I bet.
Speaking of like Marvel stuff, it has what is one of the couple of instances of like a thing where I'm like, oh, this is what people feel like in these Marvel movies, where there's an extended cameo with like a bunch of fashion designers, but they're in robes and it's like a secret thing. So they don't reveal each other by name, but there's enough time between their introductions where the audience is supposed to applaud. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't know who any of these guys are. And that's what it must be like to watch some of these. Maybe not this one specifically, but some of this Marvel stuff's got to be tough for people.
I believe it.
Although what the alternative is every fashion designer comes out and says, hi, I'm Giantel Versace. I did this. And you guys remember I made a bag with a hat on it. And then everybody else goes, cool. And then the next one comes up and does their thing. We'll talk about that next week, though, because this week we got to talk about Loki, you guys.
Yeah,
the hot new Marvel
Loki.
thing of this week and nothing else. You guys.
Well, can we say, hey, everyone's probably seen this like, wait, why isn't this a Marvel's podcast? And the reason is, guys, is because we're recording this over the weekend because we're like, oh, we'll wait for Loki because I think that's what we said we would do. And I haven't been able to see the Marvels yet because I'm just going to blame it on my child because that seems easy. So
no, every theater's been sold out. You can't even get a ticket these days.
I'll blame it on my child. It's fine. This won't lead to any emotional scarring. So it's my kid's. It's my kid's fault.
That's
why.
There's absolutely no way that your son goes back and listens to these. It's simply not going to happen.
Yeah, that's fair.
Although it would be pretty funny if your son is like really loving the Marvels and he goes back. Well, I guess you'd have to go back. You'd be really loving Loki, but really excited for the Marvels. And he'd be like, what? Dad blamed all the problems of the Marvels on me? I'm the reason? Like, not to, say any movie has any problem. Movies have problems. But yeah, that could be like, this could be the thing that destroys the whole relationship.
That's true.
It's going to be one of them eventually.
His fragile young psyche.
So
that's
why we haven't done the Marvels youth. Because of my son.
And we'll get to it next week. That'll be Marvels. Week after that is Hunger Games, Songbirds of Ice and Fire, or whatever, and that'll be fun. The reviews are coming out for that, you guys, and mixed. But it is coming out eventually. But before that, we have to talk about some news. Tons of big news today, you guys. And this week, the biggest news, obviously, is that the actor strike is over.
Hooray!
They finished it right around, like, what was it? Like, was it Tuesday? No. When was this? Was it Friday of this week? It was pretty recent, right?
I thought it was earlier. Maybe Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, Wednesday sounds right, actually. This is one of those podcasts where we just kind of take shots in the dark at, like, specific stuff.
Favorite kind.
But yeah, they got it done. They won their strike, it seems like. That's what they said. And nobody's agreed or disagreed with them yet. So good for them.
Yeah.
And now they can go do actor stuff again.
Thank goodness.
Lucky us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Timmy Chalamet was on SNL, did a weird rap I hated. Promoted Wonka, though, which was important. And Kevin Feige used that teleporter that Cecil has in Invincible to send every Marvel to every talk show immediately. Could not have used that teleporter faster. It's got a big nosebleed, but it's like, it's fine. I gotta do it.
It's a good teleporter, so you kind of get it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Disney has the best teleporters.
Oh, hell yeah.
Warner Brothers built a pretty cool teleporter, but then they threw it in the trash for tax purposes, so we'll never know if theirs is better. I don't have a great feeling about it. But yeah, the actors' strike is over. It was a long strike. It was like 100 and plus days.
This is the longest ever, right? There'd never been a longer actor strike.
Probably not.
I think when you considering the gap between when they started, it ended up being about as long as the writer's strike, right?
Yeah, that sounds right. And like, it's crazy. You know, they have to do that. Everybody pretty much did, except the directors, who just took their deal immediately.
Yeah, the directors folded like a cheap suit.
Could you blame them, though? I mean...
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Especially directors, because, like, actors, sure. You know? Like you can replace the actors to some extent, but also it's like they're actors. They're important. You can't replace it. Well, I guess you could replace the director with like 50 producers, but there's no AI director. You can like walk around and do cocaine and like yell at everybody. You know, that's pretty hard to simulate.
Maybe it's just because they're all in cahoots together and the entire thing is built on a house of lies.
Mm.
You know, not saying that's what's happening, but, you know, possible.
It is possible.
Anything is possible.
All things are possible through Christ.
Yeah,
that
right.
too. Yeah.
Well, one thing is not possible, you guys.
What's that?
Coyote versus Acme. We'll never know if it was good or bad. Like everyone says it was good, apparently, because Warner Brothers, that's the other news of this week. Warner Brothers killed another movie, threw it into the shadow realm for tax purposes. What'd you guys hear about this? Anything?
That it was apparently really good and saddening that they banished it to the shadow realm for tax purposes.
That for this one, it seems like finally, like the people who actually worked on it are getting fed up and started leaking stuff about it.
Yeah, apparently it was the best version of like a Roger Rabbit kind of fusion of live action cartoon since Roger Rabbit, which, first of all, the person who said that is delusional because Space Jam came out between those two. But I guess they forgot about Space Jam and mean to say since Space Jam. And
obviously, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Space Jam 2, you mean?
Space Jam 2, The New Legacy, with Algae Rhythm, the Warner Brothers guy who wants to do all kinds of evil tax purposes to kill all the Looney Tunes or something.
Exactly, yeah.
Somebody was able to will into existence. Yeah, what was the thing about this that was interesting? They released a reel. Someone put together a whole like 2 minutes of behind the scenes footage, like props, stunts, CGI a little bit, but mostly like these sets and cool stuff where things exploded. Looked great.
Did you see the choir?
I did see the choir. Yeah, that was pretty cool. You know what we're talking about, TJ?
No.
Take a guess. What the Wile E. Coyote choir was doing.
You want me to guess what they were doing?
Yeah. Like you could potentially guess it.
You don't have to guess the song, but you have to guess what the interesting thing about it was.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So Wile E. Coyote choir, right?
Well, it is a choir that was
put
together for the Coyote v. Acme movie.
Yeah.
In real life.
Yeah, to sing a song for the movie. Yes.
I hate when I'm required to guess things. So, okay, just hear me out. I feel like the thing that would make sense for like a Wile E. Coyote, you would do something with like Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball, right? I realize it's a decade-old reference, but like for me, I feel like, you know, Wile E. Coyote destroys things. That feels like the most natural progression where I think you would go for something like that.
All right. I don't think you could possibly be more wrong.
Although,
I could have been more wrong. I could have been more wrong.
I don't deny that this movie may have had a Wrecking Ball reference at some point. I think that's quite within the realm of possibility.
I'm not saying he's wrong about that being a thing that could happen in a Wile E. Coyote movie. I'm saying he couldn't possibly be more wrong about what this specific thing is.
That's
right.
Yeah.
So you could just tell him.
So it was a choir performing a version of one of, I forget exactly which one, of Tchaikovsky's symphonies.
Okay.
But instead of like instruments or words, they're just saying the Roadrunners meet meep to the tune.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But
and we will never see this movie similar to Batgirl. This is just this dies and that's it.
Unless some heroic staffer leaks what exists to the internet, we'll never see it.
Yeah. What I don't understand about this one is like, say what you will about Batgirl, potentially, but like all the words coming out of the studio for a while were like, this movie is kind of messy, and it was originally planning to go to HBO Max online, whatever we're calling that. So they couldn't make money off of it, and people weren't going to like it. So like, let's not bother. Apparently, I think this was going to be theatrical, and it seemed like everybody loved it. And they only got, from what I understand, a $30 million tax break. I can't wrap my head around that. Like, do they not think this movie would make more than $30 million? What's the benefit? It had to have made more than that. I guess they don't have to promote it and risk, $100 million on that. But like, I don't know. It seems like a pretty safe bet.
But Nando, if they had released the movie, then all the crew and actors and writers and all of those people would have been happy. And we should know by now that the main goal for executives is not actually maximum profit. It is maximum misery for everyone who is not them.
That's fair. And that explains definitely Zaslav. That does seem like his bag baby is like just creating misery at HBO and Warner Brothers.
A wonderful other WB property reference.
That's true. He could have showed up in Space Jam. Did he?
He
must have been. Yeah, he was. That's right.
Remember Elmer Fudd?
Yep. Oh man, that movie was so weird. Like, I understand for Marvel stuff, when we'll get to it, why people are kind of tired of the multiverse. But man, they only did there was only so much like negative stuff they could do before it got to these other people that really like drove it into the ground. I do think maybe that's the worst individual example is the Space Jam movie. They may have killed the whole thing.
You saying Foghorn Leghorn dressed as Daenerys Targaryen on a dragon for truly no reason at all. There's not even a joke. The whole joke is that Foghorn Leghorn is Daenerys Targaryen. That wasn't like the best thing you've ever seen.
It definitely helped my opinion of Daenerys Targaryen, but it hurt my opinion of Foghorn Leghorn. And maybe that's what they want, Maybe they want to like sacrifice Foghorn at the altar of making Game of Thrones somewhat palatable again. But yeah, it seems like the Looney Tunes are what I've always called the Muppets of Disney, which is this thing that this wonderful, lovely property that children and adults alike are able to enjoy that they refuse to do anything with. I'll never understand it.
How do you think Succession would have been worked into Space Jam 2 if it was as big as it was when the movie came out?
Great question.
Would Kendall Roy do like a rap with like Sylvester or something like that?
It would have to be Sylvester or Daffy. They're the Kendall Roys of the universe. Yeah. I'm trying to think of like one iconic scene that you could you could have Porky Pig doing Boar on the Floor with, with Roman.
That's good.
Yeah, Roman is in that season. One of them, whoever's there. Tom.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, I think it would have to be something like that.
Yeah,
and
or like
it's a shame.
Yeah. We'll never have seen that because no one thought, damn it, we should work Succession into Space Jam 2.
Yeah,
maybe if there's a Space Jam 3, we'll finally get to see that.
Yeah, when the algorithm that made that movie Googled Warner Brothers, those are not the things that came up at that time.
Right.
It was what? Austin Powers, Matrix, Rick and Morty, Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Casablanca. And the Matrix.
And the Matrix. Yeah. I do think maybe the other thing you could do is like you could replace Brian Cox because they did this with Euphoria. I think Jimmy Kimmel did this where they took a scene from Euphoria with the main Sydney Sweeney like kind of breaking down in the bathroom with some other girls.
Right.
And they just had Brian Cox redo that scene himself and inserted him into it. And it's like funny because he's saying little lines like that. So they could have done that with like Yosemite Sam. So I think he's the character in Looney Tunes continuity who curses the most, right? He has that like, like that. Yeah, and then just put that in one of the scenes where Brian Cox curses all his kids out.
Wait, I'm trying to do like a good Yosemite Sam, but it's like, you're not serious people.
Yeah. You're not a serious duck. You're a disappointment.
Liam Neeson? I didn't know you were Yosemite Sam.
We're both Irish. It's the same thing.
Yosemite Sam is most assuredly not Irish.
Me and Brian Cox. That's what I meant.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I've been sitting down so long I can't even feel my legs. It's incredible.
What's your next sitting movie?
My next sitting movie?
Now that the strike's over, you're allowed to promote your next sitting movie, Liam Neeson.
Oh my! I'm so excited. I will be the new, and I wasn't allowed to talk about this before. I'm going to be the new Charles Xavier. That's me. Old.
Thank God.
Slightly British, maybe almost. I could do the accent just a little bit.
Well, you picked up the Irish accent from Moira, obviously.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Although she's
Scottish. But,
she's Scottish. Yeah, she's from like Muir Island, which I assume is in Scotland, but it could also be just someplace. Got like it could be a Wakanda situation. But either way, I will be Professor Xavier. I will not shave my head, and I will not
The
stand up.
Scottish Wakanda, where
That's
all
right.
the Scottish people went to get away from the English.
That's exactly
That's
right.
what Muir Island is.
Mm-hmm. And it's a fantastic Marvel Snap location. That was what got me to sign up to the project in general. You know, plus
that
1
makes
power
sense.
per turn. Get to better than that. So yeah, I would be Charles Xavier. But yeah, there won't be some scene where I go into the dream dimension and stand up like they keep doing in those movies. They love it so much. It's in like about half of them. I'm not gonna do it.
You're gonna stay in the wheelchair the whole time.
That's right.
Even though I think in the comics he doesn't even stay in the wheelchair much anymore.
Nope. It would be he stands up and he's ripped just like me as a older man. But they also have a big mask over his head the whole time, so someone else will do that part.
Well, what you could do, Liam
Makes
Neeson, is
sense.
you could do it in reverse, where in the beginning scenes of you like punching like a boxing or like a punching bag or something like that, while wearing boxing gloves, and then you'll just sit for the rest of the movie. So you get a little bit of standing at the beginning, not too much, and then you'll just sit.
Yeah, no. This is not what we struck for, DJ. We struck to make sure that they could not make us stand in any of the movies we're in. And I was very clear about that on the picket line.
Well,
I will
it's
say.
media principles.
Yeah, and it's very, I'm fine with them using AI to make me seem to stand or something. It doesn't matter to me. I just don't want to stand.
That's what you and Luther from Mission Impossible were fighting for.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Me and Ving, classic.
Ving Rhames, that's his name.
Yes, classic Ving Rhames. I've started wearing hats in solidarity with him. The little pork pie hats that he wears, like a little snowman. I'm wearing them now. Yes, I think it's a bold move, and I've been really working on perfecting the chair acting situation. Got just the right amount of like lumbar support in my little the Professor X wheelchair, and I think it's gonna be quite a picture.
Did you stand on the picket line or sit in the picket line?
I stood. That's how serious this was to me, DJ.
Oh,
I thought it
wow.
was.
You stood on the picket line? My goodness.
You were like, I'll tolerate a little standing now so that I can do sitting.
Sit
forever.
later.
Well, it's also much like the voice of Mickey Mouse, cannot do the Mickey Mouse voice on the picket line because he is striking. I cannot sit while I am striking. I haven't sat for, however many hundreds plus days because I've been standing or kneeling or laying down this whole time. But
did you have to use one of those squatty potties because you weren't allowed to sit on the toilet?
you know what I did? I put a little bit of water in the bath. I laid myself down. I just let it happen.
Yeah.
Liam
I'm living the
Neeson,
dream.
no.
Yep, that's me. Liam Neeson. Bathtub poops. For me, only for me.
Oh God.
I don't want to hear this.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, it might be time for you to go, Liam Neeson.
It is time for me to go. We have to start filming the movie, the X-Men movie, or whatever this is. There's probably some cameo. I'm going to be in, I don't know, what's the next one of these? Captain America 4 or something?
I assume you're going to Atlanta to film a scene that you don't know. Like
that's right. Yeah,
that's
I'm gonna. What they're having me do. It's actually pretty incredible what the process is. I am going to say a line, and then they're going to have me say every single character's name after that line. We'll just figure out which movie it makes the most sense in. Might be talking to Thor. Might be talking to a character they haven't even drawn yet in the comics. We'll find out soon. Spider-Boy.
Yeah, they throw in a few theoretical names that don't exist yet, just in case.
Well, yeah, you have a lot of the names that are blank man, so we're just kind of going through the dictionary. Albatross Man, Aardvark Man. That would be the first one, obviously. But
make sure they get Paul in there because he'll probably be in the next Spider-Man.
That's a good point. I would never speak to Paul. He's too sexy for me and for any member of the X-Men. That's why we haven't crossed over to Spider-Man in quite a while. This is something everyone can enjoy. Paul talk. Uh-oh, the director of this, whoever that is calling me over. So I have to go. And I'll talk to you soon. Next time we do one of my movies, which I don't know. What do I got lined up besides the X-Men, which I'm doing right now? Gonna make another Kinsey. I'm gonna do that maybe.
Is there gonna be Retribution?
Oh my God. We're doing Ice Road 2, Road to the Sky. That'll probably be my next thing.
Yeah.
That's real. Going to Nepal to sprinkle my brother's ashes on Mount Everest. It's incredible. So I'm reading from the IMDb, so try to forget this before you guys do it on the podcast.
Okay.
I'll see you all later. Be safe.
All right, we will. Thank you, Liam Neeson.
Goodbye.
Oh man, Liam Neeson. That was great.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected that. I mean, that casting for me is like it's interesting.
He's not who you cast in your Professor X video.
No, although I did cast a British person. It's weird. Professor X isn't British, you know? Like he's from New York and he went to London, England, Scotland, all that area for a little bit, wherever Muir Island is. But like for some reason we cast exclusively, you know, people from across the pond in that role. I don't know why.
He just has big British energy.
Yeah.
BBE.
Just because he's a professor? Is that the entire reason?
Probably. You know, other famous professors. Professor Snape, he's from England.
He's like a New England patrician.
Yeah, like he feels like he could be, you know, we could get like Robert De Niro to play him, hypothetically. And he wouldn't even have to do the silly Stardust British accent he does in that movie. He could do just like, hey, it's me, Professor X. But he just doesn't, we don't do that. Pretend he doesn't have that accent in him.
Oh man, can you imagine if we had a Bostonian Professor X?
Ooh, let's go.
Somehow the least tolerant version of the X-Men.
I've assembled the most wicked piss of mutants on Earth.
It'd all be redheaded, just like Jean. Nothing but redheads on that team. Mm-hmm. You guys, speaking of redheads, do you know Tom Hiddleston's actually a redhead?
I knew he wasn't. He didn't have black hair, and that this was dyed.
Yeah, we have so many. Whenever someone complains about redheads in Hollywood, I'm like, no, we have a lot of redheads. They just pretend they're not redheads. He's one of them.
Right, so that they don't get discriminated against.
Exactly,
the most
because they are
discrimination in Hollywood is against redheads.
Exactly. But yeah, we got to talk about the new role, or the new series led by a redhead, and perhaps the last. Who knows? But we got to talk about Loki season 2. One half of the Hiddleston Ashton household Marvel takeover of this week. We'll get to the other one next week. Do you guys know that he's married to the bad guy in the Marvels?
Did not know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they're married.
I also don't know who the bad guy in the Marvels is.
Her name is Zawe Ashton. She's from some show. Well, she's in The Handmaid's Tale, I guess. I don't know how big of a part of that she's in.
So he and Taylor Swift didn't work out?
No, they did not. He couldn't. Have you seen his like on-field like football stats and stuff? He's garbage. He can't block a pass to save his life. Why would she? Yeah, she has no interest in him.
It's true.
Yeah, she seems like she's mostly from a show called Fresh Meat. She was in 30 episodes of that back in in the 2014s. Oh yeah, it's got some funny people in it. It's like a British show, but like Jack Whitehall is over there. So it seems like that. But yeah, she's got like small, or like 3-episode Hunger Games, a couple episodes of this show called Wanderlust. But yeah, she's back in
3 episodes of Hunger Games.
Excuse me, gosh, Handmaid's Tale. I don't know why I read Hunger Games.
I assume you meant 3 of the movies. I don't know. They're kind of like episodes at the end. I get it. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I got Hunger Games on the brain, you guys. I'm just so excited for the next one.
Well, don't jump ahead.
And and let's talk about Loki. Speaking of jumping ahead, let's talk about Loki. They made another season, you guys. Season 2.
They did.
This is the first Marvel show to get a season 2? I think so, right?
I think.
I mean, they're all kind of season 2s of something, but this is the first one that's been season 2 of another show.
I believe so, yeah.
I believe What If is supposed to come out this year, and that would be the second one. But
yeah,
that might be the only other one I think's on the schedule.
Yeah, I don't think most of them were like miniseries. They're not supposed to have seasons. I think even Loki was not supposed to have a season 2, but it was really popular, and the director like pushed for it, so they agreed.
I also think, now that I think about it, there's like rumors that Moon Knight and She-Hulk both have second seasons kind of floating around in the ether.
I mean, I'm sure there's everything everywhere floating around. If I had to guess,
in what period of time is everything everywhere floating around?
That's right.
Right.
Now, speaking of that, we got to talk about Loki season 2. Speaking of floating around in time, and DJ, as the IMDb's been as winner of the Five Nights at Freddy's one from last week, right?
Winner in quotation marks, perhaps, but yes.
Mm-hmm. You get to
but it's fine.
Figure out what we're doing with the summary, because this is unprecedented. Not really. We do these all the time, but it's a TV show. It's different than usual.
Yeah, but we've been known to do the odd TV show now and again, just because keep us fresh. So yeah, I figured, because it does have a summary, but it's for the entire show, and that's more like season 1 vibes. So I thought it'd be nice to just have you guys to summarize episode 6. For those who heard about spoilers, it's not a spoilery description. The name of the episode is Glorious Purpose, season 2, episode 6, Glorious Purpose. And I gotta say,
wait, DJ, that's the name of episode 1 of season 1 of Loki.
Whoa!
Get out! Is it really?
It's
I'm learning this for the first time.
It's almost like
is,
some sort of sloping thing, like some sort of strip that is actually just one-dimensional plane, but somehow is a three-dimensional object, or maybe like some kind of snake eating its own tail, or maybe some number of other things that mean infinity.
Some wren slaying its own judge or something. Or what other characters are in this show? Some X fiving its own X. Incredible.
Yeah, I totally think it's like that. But I guys, so silly. I'm jumping ahead way too far. So we're doing the IMDb, B as in spelling bee, and I am the IMDb keeper this week. So I have the my own glorious purpose of hosting this little game where I get you guys to try and guess really an IMDb summary for this week, because it's just the summary for season 2, episode 6, Glorious Purpose. And I bet you guys are wondering at home, and probably you two are wondering as well, hey, how do they come up with these episode descriptions for a TV show? And it's actually pretty fascinating. So what they do is they get all the writers in the room for the TV show. So IMDb, they bust in the writers' room and they're like, hey, we need you guys, because you're writers, to write descriptions for the things you're writing about. But the way this will be determined is via battle royale. So what they do is they pair them off battle royale style, right? So well, not pair them off, I guess. They get them all together, and the first person to kill someone, they get to write a summary, and then they get a weapon. And the next person to kill someone, they get to write a summary, then they get a weapon, until everyone has killed each other, and they get all the summaries written. And then the person at the end who survived the battle royale, they get to look at all of them and decide if they're good enough, or they can just rewrite them on themselves. Because that's the true prize of winning the IMDb TV show battle royale. You get to live, but also you get to rewrite all the summaries if you're not satisfied with them. It's how about that for some glorious purpose? Eh?
Wow. I'm wondering now who is, because we know who, or like not we know, but like the Marvel writing bench is like a couple of people, like, a guy writes WandaVision, goes and then writes, like Ant-Man or whatever. I wonder which one of them is like the tallest, Yeah. Is there one who's like super jacked that they hire, like one show hires because they want good summaries? They're like, I don't think, the Liam Neeson or something can really, he doesn't seem like he can bang out an episode of She-Hulk, but he will defend the IMDb honor of She-Hulk specifically for that reason.
Well, yeah, it's like we're not hiring for writing, we're hiring for fighting, right? That's what we gotta do. Yeah. So you guys gotta guess
some of the shows.
Really does. No. We're all having fun. So you guys got to guess this awesome summary. So here's the deal. Name of the episode's Glorious Purpose. It's short. It's one sentence, and it's a TV show summary summarizing an episode of a TV show, and it's very broad. As I mentioned, it's not short, spoilery. So I would my tip to you guys would go for concise. And just try and keep it tight. So with that, who gets to decide who goes first?
I do.
Diggins.
As the person who was robbed unjustly last week. And I am going to go first because I think I have what I'm going to say.
Okay.
With reality unraveling and time running out, Loki must discover his true destiny, or Loki must make a tough choice to discover his true destiny before it's too late.
Nando.
I've never felt better about one of these. I wrote it down too on my phone, so here we go.
Right.
Loki and his friends are in a race against time to save the TVA and all of reality.
Neither of you really got there.
Wow.
They should use mine.
What?
I'll send it to him.
One of you got like really close, and it kills me. I feel like you guys didn't take my conciseness tip either.
These were pretty short for how these usually go. Yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry. Loki, period.
Loki does things. Was that it?
Yeah.
Right.
Loki time travel shenanigans.
There's a couple phrases in here that I want you guys to try and guess.
More than one phrase doesn't sound very concise to me.
Yeah, they gotta trim that down.
There's two. There's three. There's three that I'm like.
3 phrases?
Okay.
Somebody lost the right or fight to the death or whatever. These guys must have come in 5th or 6th. Jesus.
So these are like 2 to 3 word phrases. I just want you to throw them out.
Are they like particularly like clever, or what are we looking for here?
Okay. I mean, I would say one of them is like, you know, I don't want to give it away, but just things that you might think be described about this episode. One is like an action that's being done that our main character might be doing. So I'm just going to fire that off with Diggins, and hopefully I gave enough vague hints that you could, you know, do something. I
mean, my initial thought would be Race Against Time, but Nando said that, so it's not that. Yeah. Glorious Purpose is a phrase in there.
Okay. Nando?
I was going to say, in my thing, I said save all of reality. I'll change that to save all of time.
All right. Well, Diggins wins, as Glorious Purpose is one of what I was looking for.
Wow. What's the rest of it?
So it was Loki learns the true nature. I would have taken true nature of Glorious Purpose as he rectifies the past. I would have also taken rectifies the past.
Rectifies the past.
That's it.
A common phrase that everyone always says, rectifies the past.
Look, I wasn't saying it was common. I was just saying it was the thing that described it. Hey, Diggins, don't you mouth up against me. You won. I could easily reappeal this as some kind of judge or whatever.
I don't know. We've seen what happens to judges in the television program Loki.
That's true.
You have to sit in the field with the purple light on your face, and we'll figure out what happened later.
We can't animate what's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
So yes, Loki learns the true nature of Glorious Purpose as he rectifies the past. Diggins, I thought you were going to have it because you said like true destiny or something. If you had said true nature, I would have just given it to you. So you were like inches away. I was like, he's going to get it, but unfortunately no. Yeah, so, but you won anyway, so bully for you.
I did win, and that's all that matters, really.
Yeah. Now, we didn't agree on this ahead of time, but Nando, you lost. It feels unfair to make you, like, summarize the entire show. That just feels very unfair.
It's only 6 episodes. Just go fast.
Yeah, some of them can be a sentence or two, honestly.
You know how much actually happens.
Yeah. I'll give it a shot.
All right. Okay.
So Loki season 2 starts where Loki season 1 left off, which is Loki is in the TVA, but one of the big old statues that I don't even remember if I guess they were the lizard guys, is now of Kang in like his classic Kang outfit. And he goes to see Mobius, and Mobius is like, "Who are you?" So then Loki runs away. We get a bunch of stuff that happens. Basically, Loki has now this time slipping ability that lets him turn into big, little like stretchy stuff, and then he shows up at a different point in time. So that's what happened. He didn't go to like a different reality or something. He went backwards in the history of the TVA to when Kang was in charge. And we learn, he kind of figures out over the course of the first episode, Kang used to be in charge of the TVA. He wiped everybody's memories, painted over his posters, but not destroyed them, but like painted a different picture of the lizard guys, and then left. Ravonna seemed to kind of know this, although how much she knew is unclear. But she was at least a little bit in on it, and the clock knew, but nobody else knew. So Loki goes and like does this a bunch where he goes, to the far future, and there's some business where like he gets pruned with the little staff, and now this getting pruned with the staff doesn't kill. Well, we'll get to it, but he eventually makes it back to the timeline you kind of expect, which is right after he left in this season 4, I guess, of Loki, or episode 4 of season 1. And he talks to all the people, those 3 guys in charge. You guys remember the classic 3 guys, Sleepy, Dopey, and Doc, or whatever. They're all there. One of them's mean and Scottish, and then one of them's nice. And then, like I said, the other one's Sleepy. And the mean one is like, we got to go do time war and time genocide or whatever. And the nice one is like, I don't know. And Loki shows up and he's like, guys, there's a Kang, and he was in charge of all of it. Look at the wallpaper. And you see pictures of Kang, and it's like, oh no. So then Loki's like, time slipping. This is a problem. Owen Wilson, who's now cool, like it's back to the one we kind of remember, is like, we got to take you down to my friend OB. and by friend, a guy he knew, 400 years ago or something. And that's where we meet Ouroboros, you guys. We call him Obi in the show, played by Kihei Kwan, and he's like a little, like, kind of tech tinkerer kind of fellow who lives in the basement of the TVA and nobody likes, I guess, or something. He wrote the TVA handbooks and he hasn't seen anybody in millenniums, or whatever. He is like, you're time slipping, you shouldn't be able to time slip. They build a thing that helps him not time slip, and then Loki keeps time slipping. Owen Wilson has to put on a big puffy suit, walk down a gantry, and then put the thing in a thing or something. And whatever happens, then Loki is able to not time slip because of the stuff. It doesn't matter really. But then what we learn at the end of that episode, I think, or at some point around there, is that the loom, you guys remember the loom, right?
The loom. The temporal loom that everyone talked about last season.
Exactly. Which is right outside and is holding the timelines together with a machine. Was there the whole time. It was like there, and it takes all the timelines. It seems like it's a machine that Kang used to smush everything down into one concise timeline, and then the TVA guys' job was to prune timelines that didn't make it into the loom or something. It doesn't matter. That thing is exploding and it's overloading because now that Kang is dead because Sylvie killed He Who Remains. So now that he's dead and nobody's doing TVA pruning stuff, this thing's gonna overload. So like, we need to fix it. We don't know how. I don't remember how we get to this next episode, but then they go to the 1970s, and one of the TVA agents that was kind of a jerk is a movie star. They capture him and interrogate him for a little bit, and he's like, we're doing bad guy stuff. Oh, they want to find out Sylvie because they're like, that's helpful. And they go, he knows where she is. So they find him. Sylvie's working in a McDonald's in the 80s or something in like Oklahoma, and they go to find her, and she's like, I don't want to help you because I don't like you guys and I don't like Kang and all that stuff. Doesn't really matter. Then they take her to a warehouse or something where the TVA bad Scottish lady is doing this time genocide thing or whatever. I don't know if it counts as genocide timeline. She's killing in like full timelines, which is represented on the little graph by a strand kind of thing. And we see all of them disappear and everybody gets really sad about it. Loki and Sylvie stop her with magic and she gets put in jail. Episode 3. They have to go get Victor Timely because the big loom thing is exploding and they need to fix it, but they can't open the door to get to it without a person whose temporal aura matches He Who Remains. So they've Victor Timely can do that, I think, or something, or maybe they're following the clock. It doesn't matter.
They're following Renslayer.
Yeah, they know Renslayer has some information, and yeah, she's the bad guy last season. So like, they should probably get her eventually anyway. And they go back to like old World's Fair times, the Chicago, like sepia tone times, and we find Victor Timely from the Ant-Man Quantumania post-credit scene, and he's an older like professor-y looking guy, Jonathan Majors, with a big wig, and he stutters, and it's unclear to me, and this is still very unclear. He seems to be some sort of huckster, using his fancy science and know-how to swindle people at this World's Fair. He also got the book that has all the information about the TVA handed to him by Renslayer as a child. So he did actually build most of the stuff that the TVA is going to use. Like, he has the pruning thing and he has a model of the loom and the mystery piece that the loom needs. So Loki and them have a big fight with Renslayer. The clock is Godzilla for a little bit. They go on a Ferris wheel. They swim across a river or something. And then they fight Kang. And Sylvie is there for this, and she's like, we got to kill Kang. She loves it. It's her favorite thing. And she's like, Ferris wheels at killing Kang. And there's like it doesn't get much better for her than mid-episode 3. They try to do this, and it doesn't work. They tried a lot of things. The clock is in love with Kang. We'll get to it. And but Kang goes with Loki and Sylvie. They like are able to save him. Ravonna and the clock go to the place where Sylvie stabbed Kang. I think it's called like the Palace at the End of Time or something, that has rotted, and like Kang's body is there. And the clock at the end of the episode is like, I've got a secret for you. And the next episode starts and she's like, you were Kang's friends and he erased your memory. You guys were supposed to be a team. You should be mad at him now. Ravonna does something I genuinely can't remember. Oh, no. She takes the big cube machine, which we've really talked about, which is a torture device the TVA uses. They again, didn't use really in season 1. It wasn't really helpful then. But but it's helpful now. And she smushes all of the bad guys who are doing the time genocide because they might be good now. And then she starts doing stuff. She like steals Victor Timely, I think, or something. It doesn't matter. Because they get him back enough so that they can put him in this machine, because they give him the little machine. They're like, you have to go in the gantry, you got to fix the time loom, and you're the only one that can do it because we need your face to scan it, and you're smart, so we need you to like be there in case it malfunctions to fix it. So they get ready. He puts the little suit on. He has this little, machine. Psyched. Other characters are there. Pillboy from the Good Place is involved. The other TV agents that I can't remember their names, and they're there. And then Victor Timely goes. They open the door to the time, and he has this padded suit on to protect him from raw time. It's going to eat him up. But like Owen Wilson used it before, and it was fine. So hypothetically, if you use it well, you can do this. They open the door, and then he shreds into little spaghettis and dies. And everybody is like, uh-oh. And then that's the end of episode 4 or 5.
4.
Which one? 4.
It's 4.
Yeah.
What's episode 5? Because I remember episode 6.
That's the science fiction one where they see all of them. He goes and sees.
Oh, right.
Times.
Yeah. Because then the loom explodes and everyone dies. But Loki is able to time slip back to a point where he's like, I need to do this again. And to do this, I need to assemble all my friends. But they're not there. I can't get them from the TVA. But I do remember that they were all in other places. Or like he kind of instinctively does know that. So he starts going to the places where they were and picking them up. And one of them is Pillboy's a prisoner. The other TVA agent is a doctor. Mobius is a jet ski salesman. Sylvie's still Sylvie. She's still at the McDonald's, but like she can remember stuff. And OB is a science fiction author who is also kind of, like kind of a nerd and has physics degree and stuff. So Obi gets everybody together and they're all like, you got to control your time slipping. It's the only way to fix everything. They build the time machine thing, and then they all die again. But because of the love of his friends, Loki does become able to time slip within his own, like he can control it. But then that's the end of episode 5. Episode 6, he has to do Groundhog Day to like fix this time thing. Because like he keeps running up against the end of this clock. Like the whole thing's going to explode and he can't figure out how to fix it. So he tries to do the whole thing where him and Kang, like, he gets Kang ready and sends him out the door. He learns how to fix the loom even better than they were fixing it before. And they do that a bazillion times. It still doesn't work. And then it does work. And then the loom explodes again. And Loki's like, okay, well, that was everything. So I got to go back further. He ends up going back to the finale of season 1, where he's in the room with first He Who Remains, like the one who's all silly and does, improv at everybody. And he's like, you guys, I actually knew you were going to do this, and I know that you have to kill Sylvie and stuff. And Loki's like, I don't want to kill Sylvie. I like her, and I like having friends. And Kang's basically like, well, you can't have both. You have to either, protect the timeline or you have to kill your friends and protect the timeline, or not kill your friends, let the timeline explode. And then he has this conversation with him, and Loki kind of turns the tables a little bit and is basically like, screw you, I'm going to do something else. And then at the end of the show, the music plays really loud, and Loki decides to go down the little pipe himself because he's a god. He's got like kind of, super immunity to time specifically because he's kind of mastered time. And he picks up all the little strings from the loom, because remember, it's a loom, has strings, and he holds on to all of them. And is something. It seems like what he is he can like kind of keep the different multiverses existing safely without pruning them all. Although TVA seems to still exist exclusively to kill versions of Kang, maybe. Like they're still going. So Loki sacrifices himself to save everybody and becomes the loom himself.
He is a time god. He seems to turn it into Yggdrasil, the world tree.
Well, sure. Yeah, but like what does that mean? Like because he's like keeping these timelines, they come out of him and they leave themselves. Like they're not all smushed into one timeline anymore. But so he's like holding them together, but he does seem to be doing something. And I don't know what that is.
The answer is shut up.
Yeah, either way, it's a good thing that he did that and sacrifice. He's a little sad, but nice. And then the TVA is now cool. The non-swooshed one is in charge, the other nice TVA agent or TVA boss, and now all the other friends are in charge. And like I said, they're recruiting Kangs like they would have in Quantumania, except Ant-Man helped instead. And then Mobius quits being a TVA guy to like go watch himself across the street, and then I guess go in a different direction. But he did want to see himself. And then Loki is kind of sad, but also he got a new costume, and now he's happy. And the end, no post-credit scene. Oh yeah, Ravonna Renslayer probably gets eaten by the cloud, or maybe not. She smiled.
We'll find out if there's a season 3.
Yeah, we'll find out if there's a season 3, or if someone needs to potentially get recast or replaced with a different character in some sort of future thing. Because in that handy, we've come up with a couple of different ways to change a lot about how certain time gods were going to work in future Avengers movies. But
I don't know what you could possibly
for the most part,
to.
Yeah, right. Those are the broad strokes, like things that happen in the episodes. And yeah, what, like I said, 1, ending of the stuff from last season. 2, 70s and torturing the bad guy. 3, Victor Timely in Chicago. 4, mostly stuff at the TVA and like chaos at the TVA. 5, getting the band back together. 6, Edge of Tomorrow / the finale and like being cool with everybody. So yeah, that's Loki season 2. And Diggins, because you remember that one, Loki's classic catchphrase when you pull the little string on his back. You get to tell us what you thought of Loki season 2.
Okay, so I would say Loki season 2 is in many ways the mirror inverse of Loki season 1. Which is to say, Loki season 1 was a generally pretty good to great show that had a horrible ending.
No, sorry, that's just me coughing up some blood from that thing you said. But yeah, continue.
Whereas season 2 of Loki is a pretty average to bad show that has a great ending.
Okay.
It mirrors itself much like a timeline would,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
It is like that.
But yeah, no, I felt like a lot of pretty much all of like episodes 1 through 4, I felt were like really disjointed and unfocused, and like the stakes were really unclear. A lot of things were set up that either didn't matter or just got completely dropped. And just overall felt like a big mess that wasn't going anywhere. And I just generally did not have a good time with it. Episode 5 got interesting. And I was a little more invested. And then I feel like episode 6 like really did pull things together in a way that was like what I was hoping for from last season's finale. And that I felt like worked really well as a like big conclusion, even though everything before it was kind of a big mess that I didn't really like. So, in a weird way, I would say Loki season 1 is better, but because the big thing I like is at the end instead of the big thing I hate being at the end, I kind of end up coming out of this with like a more positive feeling, because endings are strong. That Game of Thrones ending, as we've referenced, so bad that everyone doesn't like that show anymore.
That they needed to bring Foghorn Leghorn in to save it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the only one.
Yep.
So the ending of this one being good has me going like, oh, pretty decent season of television, even though if I actually think about all the time I spent, man, those first 4 episodes are pretty bad. But yeah, so that's we'll talk more about all this stuff as we go, but that's generally my feeling. What about you, Nando? What did you think?
I'm somewhat with you. Obviously, I liked we've talked about this before. I liked season 1, episode 6 more than you did. And like, I think it's interesting how even that kind of this episode 6 of season 2, even kind of rewrites that a little bit to make it more pointless on purpose or whatever. But the overall, yeah, I was doing like kind of like recap videos, like episode 1, episode 2, and then by episode 3, I was just like, I don't even know what to say anymore. I don't know what this loom is, and everything's kind of weird. And I get it, like it's like they're in a different timeline, but it was so plotty that it had mostly lost me. I didn't hate it though. Like that's the problem with this show, is even when the writing, and maybe it's not the writing, but like the big picture stuff isn't super catching me. The rest of it's fun enough to watch. It's a well-produced thing. So like the production design, the score, the acting, the characters is fun. And I think like, I don't think I would never quit the show. Like I would finish it, but like, I would understand why someone might quit it. But I also think that is enough to get you to the finale in episode 6, where they do really pay off a lot of stuff. It does feel like there's still a lot of stuff that it didn't pay off of, but like it got to almost being like I think this is the first Marvel show that you could almost watch without any dialogue and just listen to the music and stuff and go, I think I know what they're all doing here. It's like something with this thing that's going to explode or whatever. And like Loki's really sad. He turns to his friends and cry, and they cry, and it's like he's doing some sacrifice. But like overall, yeah, I mostly enjoyed the season because I think the finale somewhat saved it. Although I think I didn't hate it. I was mostly like kind of lost. So I mostly agree with everything you said. There were certain parts of the middle, specific parts that I didn't really love. But overall, it's like this is still, besides maybe WandaVision and She-Hulk's kind of its own thing, because it's not trying to be the same as the rest of these, but it is the most competent Marvel show. So it's like the only one it seems like they could falter so much in the middle and then maintain the goodwill necessary to like make the finale work.
Oh,
so I'm glad they decided to do that here instead of next season on Moon Knight or something.
Sorry, one other thing I did want to say about my big picture feelings. It's incredible how good I think like very normal measured Jonathan Majors performance is and how horrible it is as soon as he starts doing tics and like wacky affectations.
Yeah, it's gotta be tough, man, because they gotta be like, all right, Jonathan Majors, you're gonna do 50 versions of the same character, so figure it out. One's probably gonna be from Boston eventually. Like we're gonna get regional accent Kangs.
Well, Nando, I think maybe we might end at the 3.
Yeah, that's true. Just have to imagine what Boston Kang sounded like. It was probably pretty silly, but he probably had like a little Duncan hat on or something. So every time he walked in a frame, you knew this was the Boston one. The one that's been causing so much trouble for like the Hawkeyes or whatever.
Hey, these timelines are wicked awesome.
Yeah, right.
We got a sacred timeline, so one timeline, you fuck with that timeline, I fuck with you.
That's what they'll do. They'll recast Kang as Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, let's go. Oh, God.
Trading one somewhat problematic actor for the other one.
Well, it's okay because Mark Wahlberg's problematic stuff happened in the past that we already know about. It's only a problem if we find out about it recently.
That's right. He got grandfathered in. Speaking of you, DJ, what did you think of this season of Loki, season 2?
Yeah, so I was also quite high on season 1. It was like probably like top 2 or 3 Marvel show for me. And I mean, you guys laid out a lot of the reasons, but I was pretty down on this one. I think the main problem is, my big picture, I think my takeaway is that I feel like in like old television where like with longer run TV shows and more of like thought out TV shows from the jump, I feel like seasons 1 and 2 of Loki is like a 10 to 12 episode miniseries, right? Because it turns out that season 2 is such a tack on to season 1. Like seasons 1 and 2 should just have been one season or like a miniseries. Like this is the Loki miniseries, and you just tell the entire story. And I think that version is probably more successful because you could probably have these through lines go throughout, and like the big mid-season thing is like, oh my God, the Kang is dead, right? But because it was so clunky in the season 2, it felt like they had to like flesh out and beef out. It does become so plotty, whereas season 1 is like an interesting character exploration into Loki and how is this variant different, and we're kind of learning about what it means to be a variant, and it like I think it's adding to the Marvel universe, but it's doing it like in subtle ways where it's like with this season, okay, because we had Kang in season 1 and we had Kang in Quantumanium, you kind of got this thing in the back of your head. Well, like I think a lot of this is going to be in service of telling this like bigger Marvel story and not just a contained story, which I know is an entire conversation that like the internet and everyone who's invested and interested in this has been having for months now. But for the purposes of this conversation, it does feel like that the entire time, at least for me it did. And then at the end, it's very much like validated. I didn't love the ending as much as you did, Diggins. I thought there was a point in episode 5 where Loki actually probably would have had to make an interesting choice where it's brought to him, hey, you're doing this for kind of selfish reasons. You just want your group of friends to hang out because you have literally no one else. And it kind of just works out for him by being like, I'll just be the time god. And I also got the Yggdrasil tree vibes. Although I thought in Thor 1, they kind of explain the Yggdrasil with the 9 realms, but anyway, well, if that is similar,
if it's a time thing, then perhaps Loki has been doing that since the beginning of time. now.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
fuck.
I'd
God
say
damn
like
it.
especially Norse mythology is somewhat cyclical. Like there's a Ragnarok and then they all
Yeah.
get
Yeah,
born
that's
again and they're
true.
kind of the same. So
That's
like
true,
it does connect. Also, Red Skull and like them may have all just been wrong. Like at no point did any character ever go to Yggdrasil. They just kept going like you'd never believe it. But this circle,
that's true.
this circle, and then little tree thing, and then you guys. But yeah, we never actually saw it.
So if they did that, like kudos to them. But it's not an unsatisfying ending, but it just felt like it kind of worked out for Loki because he got to Edge of Tomorrow himself to get all the powers and like become a time god.
Yep. And now he never gets to see or spend time with any
Yeah.
of his friends ever again, and just sits
No
on a throne
sacrifice.
holding weird time branches for the rest of eternity. That's a happy ending for old Loki.
Mhm.
Okay.
You guys remember in episode 1 where it was like, I love being friends with you, but one thing I love more is holding on time branches.
Well, maybe like Liam Neeson, he loves sitting. Maybe he's all about sitting.
Oh my
I just want to sit.
You know what?
Old man Liam Loki. Yeah, that would be perfect.
That is a good point. If my destiny for all of eternity was to sit down, I would be like, well, there's worse things.
You have to hold things though. Holding things is awful.
It seems easy for it.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
anyway,
if I had to pick between sitting in a chair holding things versus like being Sisyphus and pushing that boulder up the hill, I'd pick the chair every time.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Anyway, so sure, maybe some results may vary. Regardless, I didn't find it a satisfying Loki journey in the end. It just felt in service of adding one more Lego brick to the big Marvel stack of Lego bricks to, just it's one more thing with Marvel, right? It's always, we got to tell about the next thing. And that's what this kind of felt like for me. I do. So overall, didn't find this super successful.
I do feel like as much as I like the journey and where it ended up on that last episode, I do think it was written a little scattershot where it feels like Loki at certain points came to revelations that in the next scene he hadn't come to yet.
Right, yeah.
And it sort of like didn't build fully in the way that you would want it to. Like the conversation with He Who Remains feels like he gets to the point where he's like, well, screw you. Actually, I'm not going to do that. And then he goes to Sylvie and he's like, I got to do the thing that he says I should do. And I'm like, that's not the energy you left that scene with.
I think there's a more successful version of this where episode 6 takes place between 5 and 6, so it's longer to get more of that Diggins. And then I would bump everything back and I would remove the Victor Timely episode. I would just kill it and be like, we got him. We got Victor Timely. We just went into a door and we got him. No worries. So I think that's how I would do that.
But Renslayer and Miss Minutes added so much to the story of the season, TJ.
Oh, fuck, you're right. No.
Yeah, they did so much and were so important. And I just can't imagine this season without that.
Yeah, those would be my notes.
Interesting. I feel like I agree that I think you could split 6 into 2 episodes. Not that you have to, but like if you wanted to do that, you can split 6 into 2 episodes, have 5 be the Edge of Tomorrow episode, and then 6 be like Loki redoing episode 6 of season 1, and just cut out episode 2. All the stuff with X5, I feel like we learned next to nothing, and all of the space-time genocide means nothing in the big picture. It's a strange. The whole flow of it's strange because I also think the other thing you could do is add an episode between 1 and 2 where like something happens, and because that kind of feels like it comes out of nowhere. But it's interesting because this,
no, you finish your thought.
I was just say it's interesting because unlike a lot of other things, not necessarily Marvel's either, but like let's say Quantumania, I don't say that's a great example of this either. Unlike some other Marvel things that I can't come up with a good example of now, it doesn't quite feel like things that aren't cohesive because of the Marvel machine, like fitting everything into the comfortable box. It almost feels like the opposite of like, they just really did whatever. And they were like, we don't really need an episode 2, right? And like, no, skip right to episode 3. Fuck it. And then they just did, which, is kind of a good thing. But yeah, it's the same, get similar results, but I do think it's for the opposite reason as a lot of this other stuff.
Honestly, I feel like we don't need most of episodes 2, 3, and 4. Like,
yeah, I keep forgetting what 4 was, so that ain't helpful.
I mean, not that it should have been like a 3-episode season, but like if there were going to be things there, it should have been, stuff that actually built up the themes and mattered, and not a bunch of wheel spinning.
Yeah, especially because like episode 1 is a lot of stuff. It's a lot of revelations. It's a lot of like Loki time slipping. It's all the OB stuff, I think, is in episode 1. And yeah, I think you could plot that out a little bit differently. And you could do the whole season as episode 5 too. Like you do episode 1 the same way episode 1 is, episode 6 the same way episode 6 is, and then episode 5 is just getting the gang back together. You split that up in the middle, because that is kind of what it felt like the season wanted to be about. Was this like, what do you guys actually want to do kind of thing? But
that would have been interesting.
Yeah, because like then you could still do time travel. You could still do like going to 1960s Alcatraz or whatever. But you'd just spend more time with like the guys. And I think it would work because OB is still kind of your guide in that season if you get to him first, and you still get to like hang out with him. But maybe he's secretly Kang. You never know. It's
cool. Well, they might need a secret Kang.
I mean,
depending on how
they've got a couple of options. I think they really, and I don't think this was done purposefully either, but I think they really fell backwards into a couple of different ways to kind of rewrite that whole relationship.
I can't wait for the big Avengers movie where they have to fight against Miss Minutes.
Yeah,
it's gonna be sick.
They're trying to protect Victor Timely and all the rest of the variants from her, and she's just trying to fuck them all. She's like, gimme, Scarlet Silver Centurion or whatever his name is. Give me Ramatut. Mommy hungry.
Oh, you monster.
So the clock wants
you're a monster.
Clock wants, the clock gets.
God.
And you guys, you know what is like time and cycles and stuff is wheels. Could have been a whole wheel.
The wheel.
Oh yeah, there's that show Wheel of Time. Yeah, is that any good?
Oh,
people really don't like the first season, but I think the second one is better. I don't know. There's too many of these shows. But you guys, let's talk about the wheel this week. We got a whole season of wheels, but it's still tempting. So don't you guys worry. I'm gonna spin the wheel and we'll just talk about what it is, nitpick some things. Cool. I've spun the wheel, landed on. This was one of mine. Ki-hye Kwan is also here. Let's talk about OB, that character, the classic guy we all know and love. Mm-hmm. What do we think of him?
I thought his character was a fun addition to the crew. I don't think it was enough to increase the quality of the show in any meaningful way.
Yeah, I think Ki-hye Kwan is very fun and brings a good energy to his scenes that I liked, and that like made the mountains of exposition he had to deliver more fun. I think the character is pretty undercooked.
Yeah.
So like ultimately all he had to do was like have some silly affectations like he does in Everything Everywhere All at Once and deliver exposition, which is honestly a pretty thankless role. So I think it's good that someone like him who is like fun is in it, but overall, I don't know. I wish there had been something to the character beyond what we see.
Yeah. You wish he was Kang secretly. Yeah, that's what I agree. They could redo that scene where they're all wearing little outfits and with him in a little Egyptian hat and a big old blue face paint, big old square.
How did you know?
Robot Ki-hye Kwan.
This is my deepest desire.
This is his fanfic.
Is he now like the most multiverse-y actor? Has any other actor been in this many multiverse things as two? I can't
imagine who, right?
I mean, some of these guys tend to cross over pretty frequently. Like Ben Affleck, if they put him in, one of these things as Daredevil, he'll have been in both The Flash and this.
Oh, sure.
Like Michelle Yeoh is in the MCU, but she hasn't done this in it. Like she hasn't done any multiverse stuff. And so is Stephanie Sue, to be fair. But yeah, Ki-hye Kwan might just be the guy where like you do a multiverse thing, you got to give him a call.
Wait till DC gets their hands on him. James Gunn's like, yes.
Yeah, but they'll just cancel his whatever.
That's true.
So it won't end up mattering.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, he does feel like, I don't know if you guys have heard kind of this story of Blade, how Mahershala Ali just pretty much called Kevin Feige and was like, I would like to be Blade, please. And Kevin Feige was like, yes, sir. And then I don't know what happened after that, but chaos ensued. They printed some Blade hats at a Comic-Con, and then that was as far as they got. But like, it definitely feels like Ki-hye Kwan also like walked up to Kevin Feige and something and was like, I'd like to be in Loki, please. And they were like, okay, we'll take some of this guy's lines, some of this guy's lines, and what's another word that kind of fits? Oh yeah, Ouroboros, and then smush that into one guy. But yeah, I can't complain too much. He is fun.
Apparently he was a fan and was excited to be cast in it. But
that's cool. I like when that happens.
It does.
I like when they do it against their will, when they hate every minute of it. That's my favorite kind of guy.
That is actually more fun. IMHO.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it does kind of feel like a thing where they watched everything ever all at once and are like, oh, he's fun and people like him. Let's put him in our multiverse thing. And then didn't think a lot about what to do with him once he was there.
Yep.
Like, I don't think it would have necessarily helped if his character was like a secret martial arts badass in this too. But at least then I would be like, oh, I see why they hired him. Like if there was some giant fight scene at the TVA where everybody was like, you know, being flooded by a billion Kangs and he closed the door behind him as he protected everyone and killed every single one of them himself. But yeah, it was just like kind of, who was in this? And I guess you need to add another actor to the cast. I mean, maybe you don't, but like that's the kind of stuff that you'd expect in a second season. Because really, was there any other actor that they brought in that wasn't in the first season? Besides that one guy, X5, I guess. He's the other one.
X5 was in the last season, wasn't he?
I don't think so. There's like another TVA agent that kind of looks like him, but doesn't have quite the nose. Like you in a pinch, you'd be like, that's the same guy, right? But
I guess my famous blindness for our generic white actors is cropping up again.
Rearing its ugly head.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because there is that other like friendly TVA agent that like keeps conferencing with what's her name, the other friendly TVA agent who's all their names are numbers, but
B13?
He's the one. Yeah, B13. So like this other guy in B13 will freak.
Oh. No, B13 is the lady, the one.
That's what I'm saying. Like this other guy in B13 had a couple scenes in this season where she'd be like, "What's going on?" And he'd be like, "They just took all the clocks to hell" or something. Like that guy. And that's the guy that might as well be what happened. That's the guy that takes Victor timely to get some soda or what, or hot coffee or something from the machine.
Hot chocolate.
Yeah.
Which was such a weird scene that I was like, clearly this is building to some sort of like thing he's up to or betrayal. And it's like, right? No, he's just really weird about hot chocolate.
I'm still not completely sure what even happened in that scene. Like, so he did really just want hot chocolate?
It's so it would
apparently.
Seem.
Okay.
Right.
Apparently his mind really was just so blown by the idea of a machine that makes hot chocolate that he had to go see it right away.
No, Diggins. Hot cocoa?
Yeah.
Hot cocoa machine?
Wait, so then...
hot cocoa.
He gave it to the guy, right? He like tried to feed the TVA agent or something because he's so nice and friendly. Okay, yeah, that wasn't part of a bit or something.
No, he was just doing it, I guess.
Just some wild shit, man. Yeah.
And the TVA agent wasn't like, no, he was like, oh, finally, someone offers me hot cocoa.
Feed me some-
as if he can't get it himself.
Cocoa.
Yeah.
I want my cocoa.
It was a weird little scene, wasn't it? There were a lot of those in this. I didn't mind them.
You don't say.
Well, and that scene is another one where like, I don't hate it. And it's kind of interesting. And, you know, maybe it symbolizes something or whatever, but went over my head in the moment and now. I spun the wheel again, you guys. Landed on one of mine. Well, we brought this up a couple times, but it said, "Hey guys, did you know Loki partially takes place at McDonald's?"
Whoa!
You guys hear about this? Yeah, I know. I saw it on one Twitter ad once, and then 500 times. But there was a scene in Loki that took place in a biblically accurate McDonald's in the time frame. They had the tree in the background that McDonald's has had, which now is symbolism. So great. They had a ball pit probably full of diapers, and they had like the little hats they used to have to wear or something. I don't remember what else McDonald's has had in the past. Mm-hmm. Ronald McDonald just roaming the streets. Had a real Grimace, a live Grimace before they
in a cage.
Yeah, before they put them all down in the 90s because they ate that kid.
No, we discontinued Grimace because of his uncle O'Grimacy made a statement in support of the IRA.
Oh man, that is a shame.
That's a real story, by the way.
Love
Wait,
that.
the IRA thing or just that O'Grimacy exists?
Both parts of it, yeah. Uncle O'Grimacy used to advertise the Shamrock Shakes, but when an actor portraying him made a statement in favor of the IRA.
Oh, so you're right. There is. He's like green and he has a little vest. which means our Grimace is nude, fully nude Grimace.
Yep.
The American Grimace, I assume, because that's where McDonald is from.
Grimace.
Yeah, and this is the Irish Grimace. He has a shillelagh, which is like a weapon. So, like, in case anybody gets out of line, Uncle Grimace will lay down the law. And so he was part of the Shamrock Shake. That's right, because I always forget. Grimace's whole deal is he's a monster that eats the milkshake specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So that would make sense that the new popular milkshake would get its own Grimace. Shamrock Shakes, they ain't good. I've never had one.
I don't hate them.
What are they, just minty or something?
Yeah. They're mint shakes.
That's cool.
Yeah, I don't really like mint, so I've never had one.
Same, yeah. But people lose their fucking minds over them enough that
I'm not
like,
that bad, if I may, but
it's interesting that like that is their most treasured item, that and the McRib kind of. But now that comes back every like year. But the Shamrock Shake was so seasonal and so specific. Yet the only other thing I ever think of when I think McDonald's milkshakes is the machine is always broken. So like, would it happen where just this year we can't have any Shamrock Shakes because the machine is broken?
I mean, one would imagine, right? That's
the
sad fate.
Apparently, it's all because one company has this weird monopoly over repairing the machines. And they were just prohibitively expensive, and the McDonald's just have to use them. It's a whole thing.
Oh, interesting.
If only some hero would go to McDonald's and fix it all,
If only someone would go to the heart of McDonald's and grasp all the branches of the trees they used to have and hold them in place.
So I have questions about the McDonald's scene, you guys.
Yeah.
Besides that it was promoted and stuff, just like in universe, what happens? Like, does Sylvie just go to Oklahoma in the 80s, apply for a job at McDonald's, and live in like an apartment? Does she have a house?
Yeah, I think that is
a Social Security card?
Sure, why not?
Okay. I guess she could fake one because she's Sylvie.
Yeah, she just makes an illusion of one or something.
And she goes to bar and she goes to record store.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, okay. Does anybody ask where she's from?
Just be like Britain or whatever, whatever her accent is saying it's from.
It's just tough to be a drifter in a place where you're clearly not from there or even that continent.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I think she's a war criminal or something. Like, there's no other reason why she's in Oklahoma in America. It's like, I think she did something.
I like that she shows up there and is like realizing what's happened and the freedom she has now. And she says, I want to try everything. And apparently what that means is just stay right here, the first place I landed, and work at a McDonald's.
Yeah.
Eat McDonald's for every meal we see her eat.
Mm-hmm. Like
she
a good
wants to try
American.
everything at McDonald's, Diggins. That's what she wants.
Yeah, I guess she meant that a lot more literally than I thought. I thought that was some kind of like, metaphorical statement, but it turns out she really did just mean she wanted to try everything at McDonald's.
And not just everything once. She wanted to eat every hamburger they made, apparently. That's why she stayed. Because you could probably order the whole menu of an 80s McDonald's for like $20. They didn't have that many things back then. I'm sure now they have way too many for like one sitting, but
right.
I feel like it was probably pretty simple. And I'm sure she could have eaten that, and especially with her god, like body and like her, I'm sure she can eat so many hamburgers. It's not even funny. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
But she loves it so much. She stayed there. And then Oklahoma.
I don't
Braxton, Oklahoma.
Maybe she really likes the musical.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you think in Oklahoma they don't like Oklahoma the musical? Because they're like, that's not what Oklahoma's like. Or do you think they're psyched about it? Oklahomans, tweet in and tell us.
Yeah. I don't want to assume, but like, it's all they got, right? So maybe.
Wow.
I mean.
Hey, they just had Killers of the Flower Moon, DJ.
Yeah, they have a couple of historic massacres. If you really want to get specific,
that's true.
That first scene in Watchmen, they got that. I'm trying to think of other things like I know about Oklahoma besides the play and Watchmen and Killers of the Flower Moon. They have like a football team, right? Like the college,
Yeah, there's a college football
team. It's Oklahoma
team.
State. That's it. They're fine.
They got the Oklahoma City Thunder, right?
Right. Yeah,
they're doing pretty well. It's got some good stuff going on there. So
wait, is Oklahoma City Thunder? Is that the one? Because Oklahoma City is that the one that's in both states?
No, I think
Am I thinking
Kansas City.
I'm thinking Kansas City. Okay, yeah. So they definitely do have that. Yeah, cool.
So yeah.
Oh yeah, and they also had the Oklahoma City bombing at the Federal Building in the 90s.
Of course.
What is going on in Oklahoma? They're My God.
It's because they have all those Loki variants hanging around.
And too many McDonald's, I guess.
Yeah, that might also be it.
Jesus Christ, Oklahoma. I feel like there's got to be some cool stuff there, probably. Although, I don't know. It's like right over.
Yeah, it's like I don't know.
Yeah. But McDonald's, they got at least one of those. That was presumably good that they had McDonald's. Is this the most the Marvel movies have ever placed a product? I think it might be.
Oof, the most? That's tough.
Ooh, yeah,
like they always drive whatever the car is or whatever, like Mercedes or a what's the car model they're always in those? I can't remember. It's kind of it's bizarre.
Blindness.
It's like a Hyundai or something. It's one that you're like Avengers. Come on, you guys could do a little bit. Surely Tony has something besides
a Toyota Prius.
Yeah, it's such a
I mean, he should be driving a Tesla Cybertruck, right, guys?
Oh my God.
I mean, yeah that would be
then he wouldn't have even had to get in that explosion, like if the army had Cybertrucks instead, he'd be totally fine. Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's certain cars that they're always in all the time, like brands of that. Besides that, like, I don't know, what do you think? Like the most product placement they've ever done?
This one feels extra special because there was like the whole commercial campaign for it. I can't remember. Oh man, okay, we have to go way, way, way in the Wayback Machine.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say like legit Iron Man 1 Wayback Machine.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the Burger King.
Look at how much things have changed.
Yeah.
It used to be Burger King and now it's McDonald's. That's how, what? Everybody always talks about how Marvel's lost its way and stuff. It's this. Specifically, the switch from Burger King to McDonald's heralded some sort of like cosmic shift. And they need to get back to Burger King days, We need to, apparently they're reshooting a couple scenes for Captain America 4. They better all be set at the Burger King factory or, the Burger King in France or whatever.
I really do think that was like the last big one, as insane as it sounds.
I mean, like, yeah, I'm surprised now that like Thor never did this, and like never went on Earth and then picked up like an iPhone or something. I was like, what devilry is this? But I don't think he ever did.
Or have the stupid like another scene happen in like a Denny's or some shit.
Right, or Starbucks. Like, yeah. I guess like, yeah, that scene could have taken place in a Denny's, but it didn't. It just took place in like a random coffee shop.
Right.
Trying to go like Ant-Man didn't have any that I could think of that's like too much.
His own stupid book.
Yeah. And like they didn't even place that product. It took them 6 months to get that product on the shelf. So it's like anti-product placement, really. Yeah. Trying to think of like which ones of these like exist in the real world, like as opposed to like Thor. But like you got like Hawkeye. I guess you have, what you have? You have the Zune in the Guardians, but you can't buy one of those now. So
yeah, right. That feels like useless.
Yeah. Although I do think Zune found a Zune in the basement of Zune, and they were like, we're auctioning off this Zune because Guardians made it somewhat popular again. Yeah. For sure that was a thing. Spider-Man doesn't have anything, like some sort of like, I guess he had the Legos, but that's a Marvel Star Wars, like, cross promotion. That's not quite product placement. That's the problem with Marvel is everything comes back home, baby. You can't, what is this product placement of Star Wars? No, it's not. I don't know. But what do you think they can do in the future of season 3? Wendy's in and out, like assuming they're going to do another season, which doesn't seem likely, but
I don't know. I mean, will they go a little more wet and wild? Will they do like a Five Guys promotion now?
Ooh,
like now we're getting classier, more upscale. Yeah.
And then Five Kangs can work there or something, and they can all have little hats on so we know which one is which. And have little regional accents.
I say go all in on the hot cocoa and do a big Swiss Miss thing. That'd be my vote.
That would be pretty good. Swiss Miss. I do think that like it's tough to get more than this. And like I wouldn't say Megan Thee Stallion is a product, but like that was kind of close to that.
Okay.
Where you bring a real person in to kind of advertise themselves. So like I think you could get Elon for one of these. Oh, well, he's in Iron Man 2, actually. What am I saying? He shows up in them.
Yeah, damn it, yeah.
Yet another reason why Iron Man 2 is bad.
It's the best one. Because people read that scene differently now. They read it as Iron Man kind of going like, all right, buddy, we'll talk whenever. But in the moment when they made that scene, he was like, "Oh wow, Elon Musk, you've got all kinds of
Yeah.
cool ideas." Yeah, I don't know. It's weird that they keep doing these though.
Yeah, for sure.
This might be my favorite. How
Yeah?
often would you say in a year you eat at a McDonald's?
Oh man.
Once?
More than I'd like.
Yeah, same. Like sometimes you just like you either got to feed the beast because the beast is calling, or you just got no fucking time, and it's like, all right, let's go to McDonald's. So
See,
yeah,
I don't think I've been to a McDonald's in years. I don't know what it is about years. I'm not too good for fast food either. I'll do Wendy's, I'll do Burger King. There's just something about McDonald's where it is not appetizing to me.
Well,
Really?
you're a person who has his life together, whereas I'm a disaster. So,
I mean, it is nice that Burger King has what is the only vegetarian one of these. I'm sure if McDonald's started making one, that would Hannah would start. You know, we could maybe make chips there, but for some reason nobody else has one. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, Burger King does the Impossible Burger, right?
Yeah, I guess Beyond only licenses to like Bear Burger and places like that. But yeah, KFC tried to make Impossible Chicken Tenders, so just burned them all because they put them in the same deep fryer as the chicken. Didn't work, so maybe they'll figure that out one of these days. But yeah, so McDonald's had Loki in it. That was nice, wasn't it?
Yeah, real fun.
McDonald's had Loki in it. Yep,
it did. It had 2 Lokis in it.
That's true.
I'm gonna spin the wheel again. Landed on one of DJ's. It's these actors were definitely not in the same room. Which scene are you referring to, DJ?
I think there is an early scene, and maybe I could be wrong, but it's when they first meet OB down in his little basement. I was just watching this scene. I'm like, something feels off. And anytime the characters were talking to each other, they would do the behind the back shot. So it could have been just the character talking to a wall. And then any time there was like a notebook or a handshake or anything past, it was all close-ups. And I'm just like wondering if like, for whatever reason, like this scene they had to like put together, but they had to shoot in their own like separate locations, maybe due to conflicts. Although I don't know what other conflicts these actors would have. Or maybe it was just like, I don't know, a family thing. But I just like, did you not get this from watching the scene? Maybe I'm totally off, but I'm like, I don't think they're in the same room at this moment.
I assume you're talking about the scene where like they meet OP for the first time, or like one of those scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, because this series had a lot of like tight close-ups and like single character middle of frame shots that seemed enough. Like it seemed intentional enough that I didn't question it the same way I would if like randomly in the middle of Age of Ultron we just started seeing single characters on screen the whole time.
Right.
Yeah, it's that, but I think I see what you mean. Like I'm sure they could have built a version of this where Kihei Kwan was never on set with them, but
and maybe they did.
I mean, I guess the only other time I can think of them actually doing that, besides like certain COVID, and this was a COVID thing I think too, but like Doctor Strange 2 with Multiverse of Madness, where like John Krasinski and none of them were ever on set, and they didn't know what the other characters in that room looked like.
Right.
But that specifically was a COVID thing. I imagine for this one, it probably wasn't. Like this one wasn't delayed that heavily, so I imagine they shot it about a year and a half ago, maybe. So early 2022.
Yeah. And again, maybe I'm off. It really felt like that. Just like got that vibe. So I don't know. Definitely willing to be very wrong on that one. Well, but also there was like, I feel like a chemistry off thing, but I think it also could be very much Diggins' this point where it's like, there is nothing to this character. There's like nothing here. And I can't imagine. I mean, I'm not trying to like blame the directors, but like, I can't imagine what the direction for the scene is. Just like you're meeting each other for the first time and your motivation is, well, you don't want the universe to die. So, your time slipping's making you all weird. So just kind of go with that. So, yeah.
It's possible. There's 3 people that know, or 4, I guess, the director, Owen Wilson, Tom Hiddleston, and Kihei Kwan. So any of them can tweet us like the Oklahoma people and let us know were you guys all in the same room or not.
Or
and what you think of Oklahoma.
Stop by the podcast at some point.
Yeah.
Let us know if Owen Wilson or Tom Hiddleston or the director, or I don't think Kihei Kwan's going to show up.
Someone can read a statement from Kihei Kwan, maybe?
Maybe
but
that.
Yeah. I don't think. You do it like the end of the Hunger Games. Kihei gave me his note.
Oh my god, guys, I got a note from Kihei Kwan.
What does it say?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just imagining what
that would be what it would sound like if you got the note. Yeah. We'd be psyched.
I understand, yeah.
I spun the wheel again because it actually landed on something that's also in that scene that I wanted to talk about. And it's a big thing that I think is a bigger, like, not like issue, well, perhaps an issue. but like a bigger thing to talk about for the season. But this is one of Diggins's. It's fun. The wheel. It says reverse the polarity of the neutron flow. Talk about all that stuff that OB has to say about stuff.
Yeah, so one of my biggest problems with this season is in this whole middle chunk. They say a lot of words about the temporal loom and the time radiation and like and the pruning of the timelines, and the rings need to be bigger, and the multiplier that makes the rings bigger.
Yep.
And my problem is I'm listening to all this and I'm like, I don't know what that means for this story. I don't know what happens if you fail.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, and I feel like to some extent that ambiguity is intentional, where like episode 5 is kind of premised on the idea that you're not sure if they need to bring the TVA back or anything, or if the temporal loom blowing up is actually just fine. But that ends up being a larger problem for the show itself, where they're running around doing stuff like, we gotta get Victor Timely back to do the temporal lock. We need to read his temporal aura to unlock the doors so we can get to the temporal loom and do all the fucking science bullshit that we need to do. And I'm like, what? And if you don't do that, what happens?
Yeah.
Nothing? I don't know. You have not adequately explained to me what the actual stakes are here. And even when there are stakes, like when they're genociding the timelines in the second episode, in that plot line that doesn't matter.
What a scene.
Yeah, the scene... It reminded me so much of the scene from Force Awakens where they reveal the Death Star, but 100 times bigger.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're going to blow up 1 million planets. Oh, and we watch people look all sad and horrified while planets are blowing up. And I'm like, I don't care about any of this.
Yeah.
It's a movie, and these aren't people I know or have met before or anything. There's no emotional connection here for me. So I'm just watching a bunch of effects on screen, and it doesn't really matter to me.
I feel like that's the other thing that it feels like was missing in episode 2 that didn't, like this fake episode 2 that comes between episode 1 and the episode 2 we got, is some hanging out with Sylvie time and then watching all those guys get vaporized by the guys. But yeah, it's weird that we didn't get any of that. I also looked it up. It's Audis. Marvel uses Audis constantly. It's like an Audi's a nice enough car, but like not like a billionaire car.
Yeah, like it's not a Lambo, right?
No,
which is what you'd expect from Tony Stark.
McLaren or one of those cars that like we barely even know what they are.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Yeah, I had the same problem with the loom stuff. Really got me because like, and it killed me in episode, because you have that conversation in episode 6 we kind of talked about where Sylvie's like, where after the Loki and He Who Remains stuff, he goes to Sylvie and he's like, should I do this or do this? And she's like, just let it all burn. Like some things need to die or whatever. And the conversation they had before that in the bar in episode 5, he's like, should I do this or should I want you to come and help us save the loom. And she's like, you just want to do it because you want to help your friend, or you want to have your friends back because you're lonely. And I'm like, Loki, is that true? Or is the whole universe going to explode? Like, I still don't completely understand any of this stuff. So like, the emotional stakes of this moment also don't really make any sense to me. I don't think the scene, like all these Kihei Kwan scenes, could have maybe used a couple of characters doing that classic, like, English, please, to the nerds. But
I think that does happen once, but also
it does,
he says after that doesn't actually make any more sense anyway.
And then they bring in Victor Timely and just do that more. Like, they just bounce off each other with like, I have turned the throughput multiplier up to 5 million% to account for the... And it's just like, I just don't feel like it mattered at all. It's weird, but I don't know how they could have done it differently. Or I know how they could have done it differently, but like, I just don't know what they were going for a lot of it. That I checked out like, probably immediately.
It feels like this might honestly... This might be a problem with us. And not us, the three of us specifically. Us in the terms of friggin' nerds.
Okay.
Where it's like, you do a time travel story and you get 1 million friggin' nerds who are like, the mechanics you laid out there don't actually follow with everything that happened here. This inherently impossible thing that can't ever fully make logical sense needs to make perfect logical sense, or I'm going to be pissed online. And so they like tried really hard to write all this techno babble to be like,
Right.
no, guys, it all checks out if you do your homework. And I'm like, A, of course it doesn't, because it's in time travel and it never will.
Right.
And B, it just makes it really boring and like not fun to listen to.
Well, and it's weird because then by the end of the season, like in the middle of episode 6, Kang is like, by the way, the loom doesn't even do what you thought it did, and the TVA isn't real or something.
Right.
And that's when I was like, wait, did I miss all of that too? Like, when were we supposed to have figured that out? Because like, I assumed when the loom exploded in episode 4, everybody died in that moment, but apparently that couldn't have happened because Kang knew Loki would go back in time and undo it or something. Is that what that was supposed to be?
I guess. So he said, according to He Who Remains, when the temporal loom explodes, what it does is like instantly prune all branches.
Right.
That are not the sacred timeline and like leaves the sacred timeline standing. So basically the same thing it was doing before.
Right.
It just does it when it also stops working. So it just will always do that forever, no matter what you do. I don't know. So I guess what it did was it like shunted them. It destroyed the TVA. So it shunted them all out into their like proper quote unquote timelines.
Okay.
And then was also pruning those branches as it went. So like even as they were brought back to their original branches, they were like disintegrating. Or maybe those were the copies that never left in the first place, because later we see Mobius looking at him from that episode, right?
Right, yeah.
So maybe all the TVA people did die, except for Sylvie for some reason, who is the same person.
Yeah, I guess that one worked for, not worked for me, but that one I just went like, I guess she's magic, so you can't kill her the same way you can kill the rest of them, but I don't know.
For that one, I was like, oh, she's a god also, so whatever.
Well, and also the version of her that's in McDonald's does still know all the TVA stuff. Like her origin version is the origin version from the end of episode 6 of season 1, whereas everybody else's origin version is them from before any of the TVA stuff started, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, I had a really hard time with that revelation. And like, I understood, I think by that point it was kind of clear what was happening. It was like that, you know, Kang's little trolley problem with Sylvie and stuff. It's everything that happens in episode 3, 4, and 5 that really suffered for me from the time loom nonsense. Which is a shame, but whatever. Because again, it's kind of fun to watch even though. But I spun the wheel again, landed on another thing that's pretty early. So this is an episode 2 thing. This is one of mine. It's a question. Has there ever been a good Brad? Has there ever been a Brad we can trust?
Brad Bird?
Can you trust Brad Bird? Or is he a weird eugenics? You know, all of his movies are about how the special people are the only ones that can cook and do superhero stuff. So I don't know. Weird. There's weird thoughts in there.
It's a good point. Yeah.
Brad really is the name of the character from Malibu's Most Wanted, I think, or something. It's the only other Brad I can think of off the top of my head.
What about Brad Garrett from Everybody Loves Raymond?
Oh, he's a cop.
Oh, you're right.
Don't like him in that. Yeah.
Well, Brad Garrett is the actor. His name.
Yeah, that's true. But he's
he
probably like an honorary cop or something, you know? Yeah. And an Easter Island head. And something else that we're like, that I feel like we should know him from, but we don't. What is it? I think he's like the voice of Eeyore or something like that now.
Is he?
Yeah, he was in Ralph Breaks the Internet and that Christopher Robin movie as Eeyore.
Oh wow, yeah. Wild!
I guess he's the new Eeyore.
They had to find one and they found one. But yeah, this Brad is bad or whatever. Doesn't really matter.
He's
Brad to the bone.
That's right. Yeah, his plotline was weird. And
his plotline doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. And even in the end, when Loki's kind of doing stuff from the previous episodes, he gets a little time where he shows up for a second. And then I still don't know what happened to his guy. Is he in TVA jail or something?
I don't know. He was brainwashed into pruning Renslayer, and then he just never showed up again.
Yeah. And like, maybe after that, everybody was like, what did you do? And then Loki came in or something and was like, oh, good, you pruned Renslayer. And he's like, yeah, I was on your team the whole time. I'm a good guy now. Because he does feel pretty cool with switching sides and stuff.
Yeah.
For convenience. He just wants to be an actor, you know?
He just wants to go be a famous actor.
Because they're the real heroes. They show us how to feel, you know? As opposed to prune us in a little box. That's not a good thing to do.
That's a horrible way to die, by the way. Especially group death. You're being like crushed like amongst others. Like that sucks.
Yeah, but at least then I would finally, in my final moments, know what it is to feel the touch of another human.
Mm. Why are they all humans? I guess because Kang is a human.
Yeah, well, comic book people are always like really human-centric.
That's true.
Human supremacist, even.
For sure. It'd be cool if Kihei Kwan voiced a character or something. Or like his character, everyone was excited for Kihei Kwan and he was just a big Easter Island head or something. They're like, what? Yeah, I'm an alien. I don't know. There's a lot of aliens in these things, right? I'm one of them. But yeah, Brad was weird. Apparently that character is a guy or something. I don't know.
The name of the character in the movie I don't know that he's playing that character, but the name of the movie is a Marvel character, right?
It's a character who is an actor in a movie. Like it's a name like Flumzo or something. I can't remember what it is.
It's like Xanty.
Oh man, it's like he's like the Creeper. He's like one of those characters.
Okay. What
is his name? Part of me thinks it definitely has a Z in it. Zaniac, that's what it is. Yeah, it's a but it is no, it's not this one that the thing came up. Yeah, it's it's like a kind of spirit kind of thing that possesses you or whatever. And I think in one version of it, they make a movie about it and it's played by this Brad Wolf guy. I don't know. Apparently it was also Jack the Ripper. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah, that guy did a lot of stuff. Get around Zaniac. I didn't hate this actor. I thought he was kind of interesting.
Yeah, sure.
He felt like a little slimy guy, you know. Like to have some.
I guess
of those.
Like in terms of like got the job done.
Oh, and like a character that like if he did have interesting stuff to do, it would probably be pretty interesting, you know.
Right.
They had to hang around with him for some reason and like stuff. The scene where they caught him was cool, like that. That's probably my favorite scene in the show. That wasn't in the finale. It's like when Loki turned into a bunch of guys and then did shadow stuff. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Turned into a bunch of London punks.
Yeah, that was great. But yeah, not a whole thing. A lot of things in that episode that were super interesting. But you guys, this one again landed on another one. This one has two names. It's either Kang or Jonathan Major's complicated relationship with women. Episode 3, I would say, is the one that kind of confounded me the most out of all the episodes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about all of it. So it was old-timey stuff. It was a Chicago World's Fair of like 19-something or whatever.
1892, I believe.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was before the 1900s. Now, in universe, is this the main Kang or something?
I don't think so.
He's not supposed to be.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was like primordial Kang, right? That's like the question.
Because like this guy, Victor Timely, in this universe is handed or like tossed a notebook that has all the TVA stuff. Mm-hmm. And that, according to Renslayer and the clock, will make a Kang in the future, or like as part of, you need to start the cycle.
It will make a He Who Remains, who is not the main Kang.
Right.
I don't think.
But like I assumed, like what makes you a variant of Kang? Because like if Kang works the way he usually works in the comics, he's from the far future, like year 3000 or something, and then he time travels a bunch. But like I couldn't remember if the version of Victor Timely in the comics is just a Kang that like got bored and went to the 1800s and is pretending to do that stuff, or because it's in this, it kind of seems like at the end when they've resolved everything and they didn't toss him the book, that solved some problem.
Yeah,
was like now there aren't going to be as many Kangs because we didn't do a Victor Timely. Yeah. But I guess maybe it was just now there's not going to be a He Who Remains. I don't know.
Yeah, that was odd. I like
especially because they explicitly do a whole thing of like nobody actually invented the TVA stuff. Ouroboros and Victor Timely were both inspired by each other. So if we're now removing Victor Timely from the whole cycle, like what does that mean?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question.
And it's like it's not like with the Kang thing, like you're born into it, right? Like it's like you're the Victor Timely, you're the Kang because you were born to be a Kang. Like that's not a thing.
Maybe he's born with it.
Maybe it's oh god, I can't think of anything cool. McDonald's, maybe it's McDonald's. I don't know. It's weird because like for him to be a variant of Kang, of like Nathaniel Richards from the 30th century or whatever, he would have to have been him. and then like something happened.
Right.
And then he's from a different timeline. But this guy is just some guy from the 1800s who kind of looks like Kang or not. I don't know. But also, like, that brings me to my second issue with this guy. Is he a genius who invented time travel, or at least could kind of do that? Or is he a huckster who sells fake inventions to guys?
Well, it's simple, Nanto. The answer is both.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And those things seem to compete with each other in my brain, but in the show, it doesn't really get resolved.
Well, yeah, because he can't purely be the huckster because he's like a genius who gets this stuff, right? So
yeah.
And he does invent the throughput multiplier.
Right.
He invented that. He invents, and like that's something that Kihei Kwan doesn't even have. But even like he like builds the, the pruning, the proto pack or whatever they are in Ghostbusters. Like he made that.
Yeah.
He didn't really make one, but like he didn't invent it, but like he made one. Nobody else has it. But he's at the World's Fair selling the like some diorama of the loom or something.
Yo,
and he's
that
like,
scene
this
was
is a time travel device. And it's like, no, it's not. But you have that. Do you want to sell it, or do you want to do time travel? Because it seems like if you want to do time travel, you can just do that. I don't know why you've decided to have this job.
Also, so he specifically denies the mutton chops guy when he's like, I want to do a partnership. Give me the patent rights and we'll build these. And he's like, absolutely not. I don't do that.
Yeah.
But then the guy comes back 5 seconds later and it's like, I'll give you $1,000 for it. And he's like, done. And I'm like, so what did that guy actually buy? Did he just literally buy this device and no rights to it?
Yeah, I think so. And it seems like part of the deal was that he, like, because He Who Remains also seemed to have a partner in the crowd who was helping to drive up the bidding or something.
The huckster part, yeah.
Yeah. So like he wanted to sell this, but when it was sold and the guy's like, hey, you're not really an inventor, give me my money back, he just like runs away. Like this was never even possible. How could that happen? But like, what did he expect was going to happen? I just don't understand this whole bit.
It's weird that they made him both. It's like genuinely baffling.
Yeah. Like if it turns out all they needed from him was the temporal aura and he's not actually a genius or whatever, and like he's not really He Who Remains and they messed up, or this is some other thing is happening, then that would be like kind of a fun twist where it turns out he's a huckster. But
right.
The fact that all that stuff is true, and just also there's this stuff where he con man's a guy, just makes it confusing.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, the way that I'm thinking, like, because if you need to have him be the idea that he is both the con man guy and the guy who kind of invented the TVA by accident, like obviously those two don't work together. But if you need him to have like some of the technology, because that's important, you just give him the TVA book like yesterday or something and have him kind of trying to figure his way through it. But he has always been a huckster. And like,
right.
He doesn't know how any of this stuff works or even what it is, because the idea that he's like putting it together in real time and like making the throughput multiplier and stuff is pretty weird. Yeah. And I looked it up, by the way. Victor Timely, the character this is based off of, is a Kang who did normal Kang stuff. And then like lost to the Avengers and just decided to conquer the 20th century instead of the 21st century and went to Wisconsin, pretended to be a guy and became that town's mayor. So like, that's, so the idea that he is like, I guess what I would be worried about, assuming Marvel continues on with Kang, which that's all up in the air.
Very questionable.
But is the idea that people watching the next 15 Marvel things will assume Kang's origin is that he's a guy from the 1800s who invented time travel because he got the TVA book. Maybe that's the new origin, but yeah.
But if he gets to the end of the show, it can't be because he doesn't get the book. Now Victor Timely just gets to live as just a plain old huckster, and that's it.
Right, and he used to be the Kang guy that was Kang. Maybe like maybe now, the way that a Kang shows up is there's a guy in the 30th century that is actual Kang. And this was like Alpha Kang, and everybody, He Who Remains, the one that died in Ant-Man, didn't really count. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the problem with Kang is it just sucks. But let's talk about the other thing about Kang. It is interesting how his relationship with women is explored in this season.
Uh-huh.
Diggins, would you like to expand on that?
I would love to expand on the thing you just said.
The relationship with women thing.
Yeah. So, we've alluded to this many times in this podcast.
Yeah.
And I think even outright talked about it previously. But if you're not aware, the role of Jonathan Majors in this and pretty much every other project he's involved in is currently very much up in the air due to allegations that have been made against him by, I think, like there's a big one by one former girlfriend, but I think multiple former girlfriends and associates have come forward to say that he is an abusive partner.
Yeah, I've kind of lost a lot of, like, I've lost track of where all of these are, but there's definitely at least the one that, like, he got arrested for, and that was a whole deal, and he's currently in court in the state of New York or city of New York or whatever, like resolving via a trial, I believe, that is going to start kind of soon.
I was going to say, I believe he is in court for one of those incidents.
Yeah.
Currently.
There's another one in London or England or something that, like, there just stuff came out now that he tried to get a wanted poster created for his ex or something.
Insane shit. By
Wild.
The way. Just fucking insane.
So yeah, it turns out that maybe he is does not treat the women in his life very well, to a allegedly criminal degree.
Now, and to be fair, the big problem is he did that now, as opposed to having done it 20 years ago, like some of the rest of these guys. So it counts. Yeah,
that is
like,
true.
They got to figure something out.
Yeah,
unlike many other
really
actors that Marvel's worked with and picked in the past. Yeah, if only. But yeah, like, what do you think? First of all,
well,
what do you think this episode? Like, do you think they thought about any of this? Like, they had to have filmed it. After some of this, or maybe
that's
before.
That's the thing. It's like, I don't know how soon this was made, because part of this episode is in Quantumania. Like, it's straight up a part of the scene. Yeah,
that's true.
And that was right around when all this stuff was dropping.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's hard to tell how much they knew about it. But regardless of how much they knew about it, they did certainly have over a year to maybe edit and change things. But instead, a big part of this episode is two women in Victor Timely's life being like obsessive or jealous over him, or Renslayer seems like she was just trying to manipulate him, but Miss Minutes is legitimately kind of in love with him to an obsessive degree, and it ends up being this whole back and forth between the two of them, and like competing for his affections, but then also abusing him. And it's like, man, does this all read really bad considering what we know about this human man right now?
Well, and even in the context of the show, like, he made her, right? And like gave her sentience. So I feel like there's a lot there where it's like, I don't know who made these decisions, but like it is some like bad stuff going on.
I mean, that is its own set of tropes. I would say in terms of him being, iffy, he very clearly does not return any kind of feeling towards Miss Minutes.
Yeah.
So, like, Victor Timely is not being irresponsible, I guess.
It's weird because also, like, he's like, yeah, he invents Miss Minutes, and then she falls in love with him or something, and he promises to make her a body or something. That happens, right? Or does she say he wanted to promise her that or something?
Well, she's like, he would never do it and would always say no, but she really wanted it.
But then you have the Ravonna stuff where, like, Ravonna does show some like romantic feelings towards him, and I'm pretty sure he pushes her off a boat right in the next scene or something.
He drops her into he like puts her in a lifeboat and drops the lifeboat off the boat they're in.
Right, yeah, and that's the one that I'm like, man, you guys could have figured out a different kind of way to resolve that. But then later, I guess we find out that he secretly drugged her or something and like tricked her into thinking she didn't work with him in the past, but she used to be like his like kind of field general, I guess, or something.
Right. Well, He Who Remains did that, not the
right. Well, are they not the same guy? Who knows? Maybe they haven't decided yet. But yeah, it's just so weird. Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah, so and like it's just, I mean, I think the whole plotline is not super good and is kind of unclear and bad to begin with, but then also add in this meta layer and it's like really
yeah, and I'd say, like, it all could turn out that all the things against him are not true, but it still feels like the kind of thing that you take out of the show anyway, or like you figure out some way to write around it, especially because the other thing that we keep saying, it doesn't matter. None of these things that happen in episode 3 or the Ravonna plot overall like add anything to the show besides she has to smush the Scottish lady. Like besides that.
But also that doesn't really matter because the Scottish lady didn't matter.
That's the thing though. You start erasing some of these plot lines, you can just trim all the kind of fat off this show
or prune, if you will. Maybe they were making a point of having a bunch of branching plot lines that are completely extraneous to the one sacred plot line that is the heart of the show.
That's right.
They need their own loom.
We need to let them grow free, DJ. We can't just go pruning all these plot lines just because they have nothing to do with the sacred plot line, and even in many ways mess it up.
Yeah. And I do think it's interesting, like the Jonathan Majors thing, because like, this has come up a couple times in these, MCU in decline pieces that like Variety and some of these articles have published, where all the executives are just like scrambling, trying to figure out a way to resolve this if they have to fire Jonathan Majors, if they are going to at all. And like, part of me thinks maybe they have decided that they were going to fire him all along and just didn't want to say it until Loki was done because he's still going to be in it. And also because if they wanted to replace him, they couldn't do that until the actor strike was over. And I feel like if we do get a firing of Jonathan Majors, it's going to be immediate. Like, by the way, here's the Keith Stanfield. You guys happy with this? Like, is this what you want? But it's interesting because I don't think on purpose, this like not on purpose, but like, I don't think this was done to give them a bunch of outs for Jonathan Majors Kang, but this season ends with a couple of those. Right? Like you have the He Who Remains, he's kind of done. Victor Timely, not involved anymore. It seems like the TVA is like a Kang Ghostbusters now or something specifically, because they just deal with like that one folder of like, they did a Kang in Quantumania, but they got him. Like, what do they do now? The TVA? What do they...
The TVA is going to announce in Loki season 3 or whatever post-credit scene they wind up in is we found Kang's evil brother Kang, and he's actually way worse than Kang.
Oh no, the supernatural method.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. What do you guys think they do? Because it doesn't matter. Who knows? But like, do you think any of this is the plan? Do you think they have a plan?
I don't know if they have a plan, but I think they're probably figuring out internally how to move on from Jonathan Majors. I think that's even been reported as such that like they're having internal discussions like we need a plan, right? Like we have to do something.
I mean, the fact that this person apparently one of the things that was an internal discussion was whether they replaced Kang with Doctor Doom for Secret Wars, which is an insane choice, but one of the things that they were floating, which I think if you're having that conversation means you're kind of done with Kang. Right. Like, and you're done with Jonathan Majors specifically. Is the problem? Here's the thing.
Oh, wait, no, Nando. What if they replace Kang with Doctor Doom, but Doctor Doom is still played by Jonathan Majors?
Yeah. Well, that is the problem, or not the problem, but the other question is like, even if the Jonathan Majors stuff wasn't true or didn't happen at all, right? Nobody even had that in their heads. I still don't think people like Kang. Like, I think replacing the idea of this character isn't the worst idea in the world. But I don't know what you can change it with, especially since the next Avengers movie has Kang in the title. So
well, if we've learned anything from the Darkhold Diaries, it's that names are fleeting, a moment's breath along at most.
And if we've learned anything from David Zaslav, they might even make that Avengers movie and then not show it to us, and it might not count. So we'll see when we're there if the Kangs actually show up to Dynasty or if they just skip it completely. It's so weird. Such a strange space Marvel's in.
Oh yeah.
But Deadpool's coming, that's going to be one of them soon.
That's going to fix everything.
And isn't Deadpool like being involved with the TVA somehow or something?
The TVA is in it apparently. Or allegedly, I guess. Like we haven't
you
never know.
Be
they could
like
change it.
How the Suicide Squad people are in all the later DC movies where they just show up for one scene and just stand around and don't do anything.
I mean, I've heard many different things about what this Deadpool movie actually is. And there's versions where it's that, and there's versions where like they're they're still the time cops of this universe, and they've done all kinds of stuff in the background. So I think we'll see, but it could be. I spun the wheel again, you guys, and landed on one of mine.
Yeah.
Remember when that clock got really big and giant and massacred that World's Fair a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
Did that happen in the real world then? Like, is this a...
when that
historically
clock ghost?
Yeah.
Well,
it seemed to happen.
I do believe, if I am not mistaken, they do, when the little subtitle thing comes up in this World's Fair, they do always say it is a branched timeline.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't have happened in the mainline MCU movies.
I guess that's true, but there is a timeline, presumably, because Loki seems to save them all, where a big giant clock eats everybody at the 1890 whatever Chicago World's Fair.
Mm-hmm.
And then
and
nothing else interesting happens.
And for years before that, there were sightings of a ghost clock so prevalent that there were newspaper articles about it.
That is such an interesting universe. That that's really weird, you know?
I love that she makes herself black and white to fit in with it being old timey, even though it's the real world, Miss Minutes. The real world still had color back then.
Nope, it didn't. And she also gives herself like little Cuphead eyes and stuff. Like she kind of zhuzhes it up for the period in that way as well, which is confusing to me. Like, what would happen if you went to a time before animation, Miss Minutes? Would you just be a big clay clock?
Well, Nando, the thing is that she did.
Oh, really?
This is 1892. I mean, there wasn't really that kind of like Fleischer animation didn't exist till like the 20s.
Oh, yeah. Maybe it's because of her. Maybe we didn't see it, but in the audience of like the big, clock massacre, there's like a guy drawing it like fucking, or like there's someone picks up the phone and calls his cousin, Chuck Berry, and it's like, I got this hot new eyes and like, aesthetic that you're not going to believe.
It's your cousin Marvin Fleischer. He runs over to the Alexander Graham Bell booth at the World Fair, like, it's your cousin Marvin, the one with the only other telephone in the world.
I'm going to send you a picture of this thing, I guess. It'd be hard for me to describe, but you should invent animation because it would be sick. The people would love it. Also, invent film. This is around the time where we're going to do movies too, so you're going to have to get that one down. But
also, you're 9 years old at this point, but I know you're going to be really into this.
Yeah. Maybe Miss Minutes is just kind of like, she's always wanted to try this out, and someone would be like, actually, Miss Minutes, they don't have this yet. And she'd be like, fuck you, I wanted to do little Walt Disney animation mode, please. I don't know. I wish they did that more. I wish Miss Minutes was like a little companion, and we got like 80s Miss Minutes and stuff when they went to the McDonald's, and then like, all the different versions. Because there's not a lot of time traveling in this time travel show. There's like time traveling to like other parts of the show, but we only really go to like 2 places.
And when we do a bunch of time traveling in episode 5, it's to various generic locations in late 1900s to early 2000s America.
I'm surprised we didn't get somebody from the Wild West and the Camelot and stuff. Like, we should just do the whole Hollywood backlot,
We're just going to do Westworld.
Yeah, they always do that. Because we got Alcatraz. Alcatraz was nice.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it was too dark, though. Couldn't see a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they got to put more lights in Alcatraz. That would be nice.
Have it be just a breakout during the day. Just a classic day break.
If they had more lights in Alcatraz, they would have caught those prisoners escaping. So maybe they should.
That's a great point. Is that a guy? That's like a real guy, right? Or something?
The actor is a real human being.
No, the Alcatraz guy. Kind of like when Loki was that guy who stole that money off the plane and disappeared. There was a breakout in Alcatraz at that time, and one guy kind of disappeared in it, I think.
There was indeed, although it wasn't. I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah,
it was the 60s, and one of the guys was named Frank.
Yeah. It looks like Sean Connery. Ooh, is that they had like a little fake face for this guy too? Ooh, this is a very interesting little plan, because they did like Ferris Bueller, where they did a fake guy sleeping, and part of that was they built a fake face to put on the pillow. Cool. I like prison breaks. They're fun. Right, we got 3 things on the wheel left, and 2 of them are kind of the same thing. So let's do one of them. Hey, remember jet skis, you guys? They did jet skis in it.
Wow.
Who could have pictured that?
They reminded us about jet skis in episode 1.
They did do that.
They did, yes.
And like, you know, sometimes it's like, whatever. You don't have
but
to
sometimes it's what, Nando?
Well, I guess sometimes it's like, I want a really clever explanation for why he loves jet skis. And then otherwise, sometimes it's like, and when that first happened, he was like, I like jet skis. Everyone was like, he's probably a jet ski salesman. And then that's what he ended up being. Sometimes that's fine, you know? You don't have to come up with an imaginative version of everything. But I don't know.
What if it had been like Loki found him and they were like in a bar and he was like, hey man, sorry, yeah, I'm a little down. I just found out my wife and children all died in a tragic jet ski accident.
Yeah. That would be great. What did happen to his wife?
It's not clear if she died or divorced
or left.
him.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine, I guess.
Although I do have to question now. Apparently, his sons are calling him, and he tells them that they can wait, but they're like 10?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right?
So, A, why are they calling? Like, where are they calling him from? He didn't leave them at home alone, I imagine.
Right.
And B, like, if I have a child in, like, let's say school. Let's say it's a weekday and they're at school. And they're like, your kid is calling you from school. And it's, what year is he in?
The 80s, I think?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. When
or is he in 2022?
No.
I don't think he's in 2022.
Got to be in the 90s. How many jet ski salesmen are there these days? Like, that's a 2000s job
also,
max.
the aesthetic of the jet ski place was like very like 80s or 90s.
Okay, well, assuming, because I don't remember, that it was in a time before cell phones, then it's like they had to get to a phone to call you. Like, something is up.
Yeah.
They could have been at school, maybe. Maybe it was like an after-school program that got out early. I don't know. And he's like,
then
wait,
you should go get him.
Yeah.
Like, they're his kids. This is why she left him, or whatever happened to Mrs. Mobius.
Then why does he have custody? That's the question.
Well, then maybe she died.
In a freak jet ski accident. Yeah.
No,
jet
because of
ski
a
accident?
tragic... No. It's because she was in some sort of tragic incident or something, and her only hope was to quickly get to the hospital, but she couldn't call 911. She could only call her husband, and he is extremely blasé about answering phone calls from family members, even when they seem like they're probably important.
That, or she was in a tragic accident, and they could easily drive to the hospital, but they could have also jet skied to the hospital, and that would take a lot longer, but you'd get to do jet ski stuff. And Mobius decided it was probably better to jet ski. He didn't want to risk it, but at the same time, you didn't want to waste that opportunity to really hit the waves hard and feel the wind in your hair and all that other stuff he says in this episode.
Or what if it is some kind of like jet ski issue insofar as like maybe that like she's like, oh, we'll go for a nice jet ski ride, and she's like, oh, but like my heart feels kind of weird, and he's like, don't worry about it. And maybe she had a massive heart attack on the jet ski,
or she could have had a heart attack on an ATV or something.
Oh, that's why
he's like, I have to sell the world jet skis to honor her memory.
No, what was the one the guy wanted that he wouldn't sell? A dirt bike?
Yeah, something like that. Because I remember ATV comes up when he says TVA. So yeah, the first guy has a different thing. Oh, that's
right. Yeah.
But yeah, I was wondering now. It's funny because like we knew he was jet ski, and like that was obvious. Kihei Kwan, I think if we had to guess what his timeline job is, science fiction author wouldn't be hard. Like I think we could get there. The cops, I'm like, I don't know if I would have ever guessed doctor for her or convict for Pillboy. It feels like those characters, we would have a little bit more time with them, and they would be like the kind of, like Pillboy would be the more like slimy, he's always trying to steal stuff or do schemes or whatever. But they're just random things they are, nothing that matters.
Well, they're just doing an extreme nature versus nurture thing where they come down hard on the side of nurture, where being raised in this, being in this TVA environment, separate from whatever, circumstances they had in their variant lives, they're just completely different people to the point where they're unrecognizable.
That's right.
But then why is
except for Owen Wilson?
Except for Owen Wilson.
And OB's like mostly there with this thing.
Yeah, that's true.
So like, I don't know why they're so different.
Yeah, because they need to pick things for the other two to be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the cops. This is weird. Like, the cops you think would be cops. Like, is that 1-to-1?
Or there's plenty of horrible, abusive type jobs that they could be. They could be in the military. They could.
Whoa. Happy Veterans Day. Whoa.
Well, now that I think about it, because like it's weird that Pillboy is because Pillboy, and for people that don't know, that's whatever Eugene Cordero's character
from The Good Place.
Good Place, yeah. That's he's one of those guys where no matter what he does, he could be in a fucking Oscar movie and he'll always be Pillboy to some of us.
Yeah,
like, you can't beat it.
Yeah.
But Pillboy, like, I feel like his is like fun because it's a thing that happened. Like it's a historical event that now, because of Loki, like that guy whose name I can't remember, DB Cooper. Yeah, like DB Cooper. He's like, this. You figured you'd figure out a couple of other ones of those, I guess, or something, and then have that be where the other TVA agent is from, and obviously Mobius. We have to do what Mobius is, but like. Yeah, I don't know what the other ones of those would be, but I don't know. It's weird that they don't do anything interesting with them. Because like Ravonna, so we did hers last season. She's like a teacher, I think, right? Like a principal.
But she was like from like future, right?
No, no. I think
someone else was from future.
I thought she was in the present day.
Renslayer might. I feel like there was someone we found out who was like. In a far future thing, right?
Yeah, same, but
really?
I don't know. It might not have been Renslayer, but it was someone.
There's only so many characters on this show.
Especially when we're like in our crew.
Yeah, like I can't even imagine who else it would be.
Yeah.
Sleepy guy?
I think it was just some sort of random like agent.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. And it's weird. But they did jet skis. We saw them on a jet ski. They put it on the Marvel Snap card, Funkos and stuff. Cool. Have you been on a jet ski?
No,
one time.
I could have been, but I chose to go snorkeling instead.
What did you think, DJ? Did you enjoy it?
I did. I was on like I was on like restrictor jet ski where it's like you're on jet ski but like don't go crazy jet ski because it was like at a camp basically, so
so didn't like crazy do flips ski. And stuff.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, reasonable jet ski was what was allowed.
Jet ski is one of those things that I don't think it would be as fun after minute one.
Really,
I think minute one would probably be pretty cool, but after that it's just I'm going in a straight line or whatever or turning. But it would be sweet as like a way to go from one place to another place without having to like drive. If I could do a little jet ski, maybe that would be fun. I don't know.
But where are you going to and from?
The island I live on, to the island where I work. I don't know. Okay. I don't know where this would be, but some version of that where like I have to cross the river. Jet skiing would be a fun way to do it. The first time, maybe.
But, I mean, yeah.
But if you're on the ocean, Nando, and you're like hitting them waves, then it's like constantly going off ramps.
Yeah, that's true. Jet skis, yeah. I've never been on one. I'm surprised. Now that I think about it, I've never been on a jet ski.
You might miss your chance. Maybe it's no jet ski for you ever now.
I mean, I'm fine with that. I think I can live with it.
All of us reach a point in our lives where from this point forward, we will never be on a jet ski.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there's some sort of like, has Loki created some new jet ski market? Do you think the jet ski people are like really psyched that Loki season 2 was coming so they could get more jet ski rentals?
Up. Yeah, that's what they're thinking. Their numbers coming in, baby.
Now, I spell the wheel again. There's one more thing on the wheel, you guys. It's Loki beats Dark Souls, but it's also just all the finale stuff. What do we think of the finale? I mean, we already said we liked it, but like, what other thoughts do we have?
Well, you and I like it. This time, DJ is the me who doesn't like it.
Yeah, right. I'm the evil one.
So, DJ, do you want to go first since you're the evil one?
Yeah, because you wanted to talk about your strands, how the strands were and stuff.
Yeah, so, okay. What did you guys think of that effect that instead of Thanos dust, when someone disappeared, they turned into little like stringy things?
Oh, you're talking about the spaghettiing?
Yeah, the spaghettiing.
I mean, that's like a thing, right?
Is it?
It's supposed to be. I mean, it's a theoretical physics thing of like when you get to a wormhole, you turn to spaghetti.
Holy shit, is it really?
Yeah. Well, what do you mean precisely?
So it's called spaghettification. And
if this is the thing I'm learning about it, and then I apologize to Loki the show for being way better at understanding like theoretical physics than me.
Oh, yeah, no, this is a real thing. In astrophysics, it is a vertical stretching and horizontal compression of objects into long, thin shapes in a very strong, non-homogeneous gravitational field. So it is hypothetically what would happen to you if you fell into a black hole. It's not exactly this, but that's kind of what they were going for, I assumed.
Oh, man. My bad, guys. I'm a piece of shit.
When you said strands, I thought you were talking about the loom and all that stuff. I didn't realize you were talking about the spaghetti.
I didn't like the spaghetti effect, but if it's like they're going like scientifically accurate,
well, if you think it looks bad, then you think it looks bad. But if your problem is the scientific accuracy of it, then yeah, it is a thing.
Okay, the other problem...
I also think it looked bad, though. I do think it looked bad. Did you guys not think it looked bad? I thought it looked bad.
I thought it looked kind of cool.
Really?
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Care for it.
I think, it's not the first time we've seen it either. As we were watching it when this happened to He Who Remains in this episode, episode 4 in this season, I was like, when have I seen this before? This has been in the Marvel stuff before, and I can't remember what it was. It took me 2 weeks. I only thought about it the other day.
Okay.
Do either of you guys remember the other time this has happened?
Oh, Thanos Reality Stone?
No, that's kind of... She turns her into ribbons. I would say that's different.
Okay.
Good guess.
Yeah, that's just a silly little thing he does with the power over reality.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Is it an Ant-Man thing?
It is an Ant-Man thing. When they go into that probability matrix and they're like running around with many Ant-Mans in Quantumania, some of them do this. And it's like,
oh yeah,
it's like, man, that movie just cannot, some bits of it just cannot stay in my brain for more than 5 minutes. And that is one of them. Like, I'm thinking about it now. And I'm like, I do remember seeing that. But tomorrow you ask me again. Different answer. And they're all Kang related, I guess, right? Kind of, or something. It's like
Kang is in both of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know. The other thing that happens...
What they're trying to say that spaghetti is important to the Kang character. It's going to turn out that Kang's Italian.
And that's going to be the prime Kang. And they're going to walk into the Council of Kangs, and one of them is going to be like, they're going to be like, who among us can lead? And he could go, it's me, Kang. I'm here, Nathaniel. And they're going to go.
Oh,
So they're going to recast Jonathan Majors with Chris Pratt.
I was gonna say it could be Adam Driver from the or Jared Leto from that Gucci movie.
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
hey, I'm talking to you. He's gonna say, everybody. I haven't seen that movie, but I hear he's pretty silly in it. He's on the Empire State Building this week. Remember that? You see that? He tried to climb up it.
Excuse me?
Yeah, Jared Leto climbed the Empire State Building this week.
I had not heard.
No, it was not a good enough publicity stunt then, I guess. It did happen, I promise you.
Stunt for
this thing that it did, him climbing it, I guess. I don't know. We'll never find out because nobody heard of it, but it did happen.
If you say so, man.
I put the thing is in the chat, but yeah, I think the prime Kang will be Italian, and
it only makes sense.
They've got a couple of actors, like you're saying. They can do Chris Pratt. He's pretty busy with that Garfield movie he's going to be in, and probably being Zelda or whatever. They've got all the guys from Gucci, and I mean Adam Driver's also in that Ferrari movie, so he's really trying to corner the market on Italians.
That's true.
Is he? He's got to be Italian in real life. Then you assume.
I don't know the name like Driver.
Like, is that why he did Ferrari?
That's it.
He loves cars so much he got named after one.
I think such a huge Driver fan.
You know what? If we did want to replace Kang with an Italian actor, and we wanted to be really not on the nose, I guess, but like one of the least exciting castings, we could do Giancarlo Esposito, who is Italian, at least half Italian, I think. But yeah, I don't know if Adam Driver is. I don't think he is.
No, he's not. I just looked.
You think they're psyched? Italian people, they're like, we got the best guy being all our guys. Could be worse. They could all be Jared Leto. So
yeah, it's true.
Pretty good. But yeah, spaghettis and stuff is in that. Diggins, what did you think of the Dark Souls thing?
So at the end of not at the very end, because there's a little coda with Mobius and B13 and Sylvie and all them. But when Loki's like, I know how to solve the problem, he goes in and he blows up the temporal loom. He grabs all the strands and walks up the invisible staircase up to the throne of want, where he sits down and links the first flame that creates the Yggdrasil tree. And it just all feels like he just beat the final boss in a Dark Souls game and is doing the esoteric thing that means he's claiming something, except it doesn't mean exactly what you think it means, and you don't fully understand it unless you read all the item descriptions from every little piece of vendor trash you found.
I think about it. So wait, in Dark Souls, are there trees? Is that a thing?
Well, in Elden Ring,
I was going to say, yeah, Elden Ring's got trees.
Elden Ring's got trees.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Souls doesn't really. There's not any major. I mean, there's the tree that goes down to the Ash Lake, but that's not really an important tree per se.
What about that robot fighting game? Is that full of trees?
Armored Core?
Yeah.
I haven't played it. I don't know. Could be.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's just, I don't know. I feel it's just a vibe. The vibe of like being in an abstract space where you are ascending to a metaphor while dramatic music plays and then it fades out and you're like, what just happened?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
That being said, I did like that scene a lot because I do like Dark Souls games.
And I see, unlike DJ, I think it was a pretty satisfying like end of that character arc for at least for this season, as like the third option, sacrifice yourself to save everybody kind of thing. But I also think he chose to link the first flame instead of the Lord of Darkness ending. That's right. And for me, my big problem with this, or not problem, but like thing is I still don't understand anything about what happened.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what picking up the timelines, because he would pick one up. He picked up a branch and then kind of gripped it a little bit more, and it kind of got a little black, like darker green. And it's like in my head, I'm like, is he killing it? But then he kind of let it go through. So is he like pruning the Kangs off of it or something? And I still don't know what any of that is. I'd like to have Luis or something, one of the characters from these, explain it to me, because I don't know what any of it was, but it was cool looking.
He grabbed the branch that it made it green, but then that meant that the Kang went in there and he told my sister that that means that the Kang is going to go attack these people. So then my sister told his cousin that don't attack those people because that would be bad. And then I found you, and then I told Kang, hey, go fuck yourself, and then I killed Kang. That's what Loki did with the strand.
Now I get it. But then my question then is, what is the TVA? And does anybody have a good answer for what the TVA currently is in universe?
I mean, you said earlier, right? Kang Ghostbusters?
I guess so.
I'm kind of down with that.
That's the only thing I can. But then the question is, like, does Kang even, like, would it even make sense to do a Kang movie in the future? Has Marvel solved the Kang problem by just having Loki play out the way it did?
I don't know. I do feel like the thing you're saying about, like, what is the TVA even now also applies earlier, where that seems to be the whole conflict between Loki and Sylvie at the beginning, where he's like, we have to save the TVA, and she's like, the TVA must die, and I'm like, what even is the TVA right now? What are you guys actually talking about?
Right.
It's really just like keeping this loom going, kind of, because like they don't even prune stuff anymore, but then when they do, it's like a whole big deal. But like the problem with the TVA for me has always been it's 8 people in one room or 3 rooms, but like it's not like it has this big giant, every time you look out the window, it's like 1 million guys and flying fucking taxi cabs and stuff. And you're like, I guess this is a whole thing. But yeah, none of them are doing anything TVA this season. They don't deal with variants or anything like that. So, but then there's like 3 guys that are in charge now. And it's like, where did these guys come from? Why are they in charge? I don't know who they are.
Yeah. It certainly doesn't help with the show, right? That you have these problems. It does not help at all.
Yeah, it's weird, but I still liked it mostly. I still think it was good. I liked it. It was like,
listen,
I don't know.
You make an esoteric metaphor for your ending, and I'm probably gonna kind of like it.
Yeah, you play the music really loud. You have the characters all cry and stuff. That's like good for me. It works. And
I'm a simple man. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. There was no post-credit scene in this, which I thought was interesting.
No, there was not.
Has there been one this whole season?
No. None of the episodes had one. Which,
that makes sense.
It's fine. It's probably good, actually.
Do you think there was a secret post-credit scene that they cut where like Kang rose from the ashes or something?
Oh.
Like he remains dusted off his shirt and was like, next time me.
Next time,
we actually don't need to put this in. Let's wait, and we'll put this in like Deadpool if we like it.
Yeah, they already know next time me also, so we're good.
That's true. It's a
I don't need to tell them.
And the Ravonna thing is the only thing that I think really kind of stuck out to me as like, wait, what are we doing with this? Because now she's in the like negative zone, not negative zone, because it's something else, shadow void or something.
Mm-hmm.
She's in the, what do they call it when they were all the place that Loki and Sylvie and Mobius all got stuck last season.
Yeah,
is it just the void?
It might just be the void.
I think it might be the void. Yeah. So she's there. That big crocodile thing from Marvel Snap is there too.
Yeah, Eliath is gonna fuck her up like it fucks up every Marvel Snap game that you play.
Exactly. And like but then she's like sad, and then she smiles a little bit.
Maybe she's embracing death in a way that's very morbid, but
as we all should.
Now I've heard that explanation. I've also heard the explanation that she's gonna be the new Kang, and she's gonna like do all the stuff he did and take his place. And I think in the story that Kang tells, she did the Eliath thing or something. Like there's enough room for interpretation that maybe she has taken over him before.
Oh, interesting.
But then like with what? Like her shoes? She doesn't have anything on her, and she's not magic, so
yeah.
I did really think that they were going to reveal with the Miss Minutes thing where she's like, I have a secret to tell you, but you're gonna be mad. And then the start of the next episode is, okay, here's the secret. I did think that was gonna be that she is a Kang variant.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
She would have been the Sylvie of Kangs. And like that would have been fine. But instead they were like, you're working with him. You guys were partners. And we were like, I'm pretty sure we already knew that. And if we didn't know that before, if anybody Googled her character name in the meantime, never figured out what she was in the comics, that's what it is. So it's kind of like
what?
Captain America the Winter Soldier starts, and everybody who hasn't ever heard of him is like, who's the Winter Soldier?
Yeah, right.
And everybody that's read the comics or even heard his name in Wikipedia once or twice been like, oh, what? I see. She's that. She's like Kang's girlfriend from time travel school or whatever. Like they usurp each other every so often or whatever. It's not that exciting. But yeah.
Whoa, Nando, you left out the best part, which is her current alias.
What is her current alias?
Terminatrix.
Oh, that is a pretty cool name. I wonder if that was before or after the movie Terminator.
There's actually a Terminatrix variant coming in Marvel Snap soon, Nando.
Yeah, I have seen that. It's the one that we're going to get because neither of us have those cards.
Damn right.
I also don't have Living Tribunal.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's, I don't know. It's weird. Like, I don't know. Her whole thing is weird. I kind of expected to not see her at all this season, honestly.
Okay.
But like, and it's weird that she's like running around in the TVA, like in the same hallways that Loki's in, just doing other stuff.
Yeah.
The way they kind of get around it is like, no, Miss Minutes controls the machines in here, and she's not even coming up on the cameras. It's also weird how Miss Minutes went from being like, kind of a plot to like a little thing to explain how the TVA works to like the secret TVA god that's in love with Kang and is its own character.
And maybe if they do a third season, the ultimate villain.
Yeah. The Godzilla clock that destroyed the history of one guy. So weird. Terminatrix is a pretty cool name. Do you guys have anything else about Loki? It doesn't seem like we're getting to season 3. Do you think he'll ever show up again?
I don't know. I mean,
I'm betting no. If I had to bet, I'm betting no.
How tired does Tom Hiddleston look when he goes out in public?
I mean, we only started seeing him the other day because the actors weren't allowed to go out in public and show us themselves anymore. But he has said in interviews that this is the end of a journey for this character. So I wouldn't be surprised if we never see him again.
Incredibly vague. Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be busy holding all those branches inside that tree.
Yeah.
Well, right. And that's my thing is like, if they do this Kang Dynasty movie where all the Kangs team up and kill all the Avengers or something, it's kind of like Thanos. That first scene has to be all the Kangs killing this, like going to the TVA and killing everybody and Loki. So,
oh man, all the big Avengers got to start with killing Loki.
Yeah, that's right. He's important, and he's pretty cool. He's like the longest running star in these right now that's still alive, right? Behind
that's
maybe
incredible.
Like Jarvis, if you want to count Paul Bettany as having been the same guy in those movies. And Pepper Potts, I guess, although she doesn't know if she's still in these or not.
Yeah,
I was gonna say though, and like I don't know that Paul Bettany is still in them.
Well, like White Vision still exists. He's around somewhere.
Yeah.
I think we can expect that character's going to pop in somewhere. There was even going to be a Vision Quest show that it seems like they kicked to the curb, but I'd be very surprised if we don't see him again. Pepper, I wouldn't, but who knows?
Gwyneth Paltrow is too busy selling her goop.
Yeah. And then I guess Don Cheadle, War Machine, still. And Nick Fury, to be fair, he shows up in Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2.
Yeah, that's true. Nick Fury is still the longest running.
Yeah. But yeah, like Loki would have been that.
If the trailers are not lying to me, then he's going to be in the movie that just came out.
He certainly is. He's in it. And you know what? Remember all that character development from Secret Invasion?
No.
Okay, good. Forget everything that's what he says right before the movie starts. Forget everything you know about the Secret Invasion Skrulls. This is incredibly different.
Okay, that's good because I know nothing about it.
Yeah, he looks at the Skrull that's his wife. And he's like, honey, you stay in that broom closet for this whole adventure, all right? I know you're supposed to be hanging out with me now, but you're going to go do something else. Okay, bye. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we see Loki again outside of like a scene like that where like all the Kangs destroy him. And weird.
Oh, I do want to say, I think the time loop stuff that this season of the show does, not like the live, die, repeat, like reloading stuff, but like when it tries to do, because Loki is going back and forth in time, like self-fulfilling loops or stuff.
Yeah.
I think all of that's pretty bad.
It's tough because like it's so obvious when that stuff starts that it's so hard to do something clever. I don't mind
if it's obvious. I mind that it's pointless.
Yeah, that's
like the big one is the whole like Loki goes in the future, sees Sylvie in the elevator, and then he gets pruned, and you're like, what does all that mean? The phone's ringing, he gets pruned, Sylvie's there. What does all that mean? And what that means is Sylvie happened to be there. He saw himself and pruned himself, and the phone was Ouroboros being like, hey, are you guys done?
Yeah.
Like, it turns out that it was a completely pointless scene that didn't need to exist.
And what happens to that pruned Loki? He's just in the...
Well, he gets pulled out of the time stream. That was his
process. That's how he survives episode 1. But it's also like just some bullshit. Like, it could be anything. Like, yeah, it's weird.
Like, that wasn't like that. It wasn't like that was a big culmination where it's like him doing that ends up being like super important to what they're doing right now. And it's like, oh, everything worked out because of this time loop. It's just like... It's almost literally like Loki does it and was like, well, that was weird. Let's never talk about that again.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the ending of this season of season 1 was like, there's a big Kang statue. What's going on? And then they kind of started season 2. Okay, so why is there a big Kang statue there? And they're like, well, what if he's in the past now? And that's what it is. It almost seems like him being pruned in that future bit is also something that was set up in season 1, and then in season 2 they had to figure out what that was. But yeah, you totally could just leave all of that out and it would be fine. I do. Yeah,
I was gonna say alternatively, my pitch for this being one long season I think might help that too. Yeah, because the show is just one long season of a show. It's not bifurcated in like any meaningful way.
And I think I remember them saying something like that about these seasons. Like season 1 and season 2 of Loki are pretty much one story. I remember that back after season 1 ended. I think the
when
problem
you think about
is
it,
like,
our TV show is just like a really long movie.
No. It's good. It's good. It's a 12 episode series. It's different. It's just tough because like, yeah, I feel like it is clear that they are. I do think like there's a good halfway point. That is the halfway point that they ended up choosing, where Loki kills or Sylvie kills He Who Remains, whatever. It's just like there needed to be more stuff to do in this season.
Yes.
Like the second half had to have more direction and more objectives. But yeah, the end was cool. So Loki did his outfit changed and the speakers went bum 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 bum. So I liked it. You
knew exactly what was going on based on the score.
Yeah,
it's like I got it.
What's the next Marvel thing? What if, I guess? It's the Marvels, but that already, in my world, that came and went. Not to say anything negative about it, but just like that one's already happened. But the next show is the What If show.
Okay.
Do you think that the animation of the faces will still be so bad that it will sear my eyes out of my skull?
Maybe. I mean, we've seen nothing from it. That's always a good sign, right?
That's always a great sign.
It's supposed to come out in the next month and a half.
Just like that Echo show.
Oh, that one, at least we've seen a trailer for it, and that comes out in January. This comes out before that. It's wild. Yeah. Wow. I did hear someone, I forget who I spoke to, someone had seen some of X-Men, the cartoon that they're doing of X-Men, and he's like, that looks really cool. So maybe they have kind of smoothed some of these edges off it, and the faces look good. The real question is, have they taught some of the actors how to voice act yet?
Ooh, probably not.
We'll see. Some can do it, but some maybe not quite as well. But before that, you guys, we have to get to our classic segment and recommend some things to some fine people.
Oh, man.
I mean, maybe we will recommend What If Season 1. Who knows? DJ, would you like to recommend anything?
Sure would, Nando. So we been playing some games lately, and I actually played a game earlier today as of this recording that I think, Nando, were you there when Lorenzo was describing this game yesterday? It's called Decorum.
Yeah, that seemed fun.
Yeah, so it's for those of you who don't know, Decorum, it's called a game of passive-aggressive cohabitation. And the way the game works, it's cooperative. It can be played with either 2 or 4 players. It's kind of like fun if you did couples. Michelle and I played. And essentially, you're decorating a house together, and you each have a hidden objective in terms of what you want the house to look like. So when someone recommends to decorate something, you have 3 options to respond. You could say you love it, you hate it, or you're fine with it. And then you keep going like back and forth like that. And you have to find a way to make a house that you both like meets your parameters, based on all the decorations. And there's like scoring criteria for like how you hit that. It's very fun. It's so interesting playing a game, especially someone you know really, really well, where you're like limited in your communication on how you can talk. And like, so you could say love it, hate it, and fine with it, but you could like say it in like certain ways. So you could be like, love it, or it's like, I love it. Like, right. And like, you're working together, so you don't want to like screw the person over. But like, I think it's more with like the fine with it. Like, if you're like, how fine are you with it? Because there are things that they're in your criteria where like, if I don't know, let's just say you hate potted plants. So if there's a lot of potted plants, then you can lose a lot of points. So you gotta like find a way to steer the way to like stop putting in potted plants. And sometimes decorations aren't just one thing. It's like, here's some potted plants with historical paintings, but maybe you like historical paintings. So you're kind of like playing with these various levels of how you could solve that puzzle of getting to the correct house. So I think it's a lot of fun. I will say, like, I'm not 100% sold on like the replayability. Like, there's some games like this, like there's one I think it's called, I think I mentioned it before, Inhuman Conditions, where that's a 2-player game where you're trying to like figure out if the other person's a robot or a real person. So it's games where you can figure out the play pattern quickly, and then it's like how many times you're gonna replay it. But I still think it's like very fun, right? It's like why I'm recommending it.
I've played Inhuman Conditions many times, DJ, personally.
Do you enjoy like multiple playthroughs of it?
Yeah, because it's always different.
Yeah, it's fair. That's fair. But yeah, so I think this game's great. I would definitely recommend it. I think it's like a good game to have in a collection, and it's probably a good game too, where like you could watch people play and it wouldn't be the most boring thing in the world. I could like see that working out. So yeah, that is gonna be my rec. Diggins, what do you have to rec for the fine folks?
Well, have either of you ever watched a little movie called Paprika?
No,
I don't think so.
Paprika is it's one of them animes.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
Anime. I mean, it's not like a show. It's just the movie. But it is probably the most famous movie by a legendary animator, Satoshi Kon.
Okay.
Who was extremely good at, unfortunately has not been with us for 13 years now, but he was extremely good at creating like impossible spaces and like very fluid, and like he was actually very good at like time loop stuff in animation, or like physical, like, you know, dimensional looping things, because he was really good at making these like very fluid sort of sequences of things changing. And it was just generally his work tended to be very experimental and psychedelic's not the right word. Dreamlike, I suppose, is what I mean here. Paprika is literally about dreams, where it's a woman who works at an institute that has created a device that lets you like see and share dreams with other people, and she, like, with her dream persona, is like investigating someone who's spreading nightmares and trying to use this device for uh, ill ends. But the main draw of it is just the like incredible animation work that goes into it, that goes into rendering things in this like very fantasy, like dreamlike way, in a way that like, you could probably like never realistically do in live action. Like, it needs to be animated, which is what's so great about his work, is that it does exist in that space where you're like, well, you could never do this if you weren't animating it. And I always like that about, I always like when a medium makes such full and total usage of its own unique strengths that you're like, well, this couldn't be anything else. It has to be what it is.
Are they doing a live action remake at some point, though?
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, so we'll see.
If they haven't already, maybe they have, and I just don't know about it. But yeah, so that's Paprika. And the reason I'm recommending it now, because I have seen it before, is that it is now free on YouTube. So you can just check that out for free. And hey, DJ?
Tight 90?
Tight 90.
Woo!
Okay, so that's Paprika, like the spice. What about you, Nando? Do you have anything to recommend?
You know, I feel like besides watch Marvels, we'll talk about it next week. But I also watched, so I've watched too many movies recently, but 2 shows that I like came back or started. So I watched the first episode of the new Nathan Fielder show, The Curse, on Showtime. It is, I don't know, I'm assuming it's by him because he doesn't do stuff other people are in. But it's him, and it's Emma Stone and Benny Safdie. And in this show, he and Emma Stone are like a couple that are trying to get an HGTV reality show where they flip homes started. And Benny Safdie is a producer who's working with them on this. And it's very Nathan Fieldery, but it is real, or not real, but it is like, it's scripted. So it's like any show. But it's that same level of like really uncomfortable conversations, and his character's very interesting in ways that I wasn't expecting. It also has one of the weirdest things I think anybody will see on television this year, in the first episode, and anybody that's seen it knows what I'm talking about. But it's interesting for that reason. I do think what it's saying about like people that do what these characters are doing is interesting. And I don't know. I trust him so much that I will give Nathan Fielder so much latitude. So I'm definitely like, I'm all in on this show, but I'm curious to see where it goes. The other show that came back this week is For All Mankind, the show where what if the Soviets won the space race? Yeah, and I remembered it now because I wrote it down. It's a good show. This season is interesting, but we've reached the present day, or almost the present day, because each season jumps forward 10 years in time, which means all the original actors have like lots of lines on their forehead and gray hair, and they're doing things that are kind of interesting, but it's hard in a first episode to really know what the thrust of this season is going to be. I am kind of at the end of last season, I was a little bummed about one plot line that was kind of stupid that everyone hates. So much so that it's not addressed at all in this season, except for some characters say that character's name. And the internet is speculating whether we'll ever find out what happened to them, or that's supposed to be a like Poochie died on the way to his home planet kind of situation where it's like, we'll never hear from this guy again. There's that. And then there's also at the season 3, I think, had an Elon Musk type show up who it seemed like they were going to be kind of harsh on, but got a redemption arc that I didn't love. And like kind of his whole plot line, I think, was kind of stupid. But so I'm curious to where they'll go with that. But overall, you know, I think it's a pretty fun show, and it's even just the futurism of it, and like, what would it be like if in the 2000s Hilton had a hotel on the moon? Like stuff like that is cool. And just that first 5 minutes where it does kind of catch you up to speed on like, and this guy was present, and then instead of this guy was president, and then this wasn't a real movie, so this guy didn't do this. Like they kind of do a kind of you know, like we didn't start the fire for the 10 years that you missed. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, I really enjoyed that this episode. But I'm curious about how this season, how some of the arcs shake out. You know what I did like? It has what's his name in it? That guy, Dr. Doom from the bad one of the bad ones, the most recent bad one.
The Fan Four Stick.
Yeah, from Fan Four Stick. What's that actor's name? Koba from Planet of the Apes.
I don't know.
The guy who claws his eyes out in that Black Mirror episode. Toby Kebbell is in it. And his character is interesting in general, but I also just really like that guy. And I remember he like kind of started his thing. Like he showed up, and I think like I said that I was like, oh my god, it's that guy from like that Black Mirror episode, and then the Planet of the Apes and Fantastic Four. Things usually go pretty well for him in shows, movies. I think he's gonna be a-okay. Like that guy is just nothing but tragic characters up and down. So like I'm interested to see what ends up happening to him, but like, man, you could not show me a single actor who I'm more like, this guy's going to die in a big thing than Toby Kebbell. So he'll be right at home in the show where everybody dies in big things. But yeah, him as the new kind of lead is interesting. What are we doing next week? I guess we already said it's the Marvels.
The Marvels.
Real quick, Nando, on the Paprika Wikipedia page, in August 2022, it was reported that Kathy Yan would direct and executive produce a live-action television adaptation for Amazon Studios.
Who's that?
I don't know.
Kathy Yan. Is she any good?
Kathy Yan.
Is it Y-A-N? Oh, yeah. Here we go.
She did Birds of Prey.
Oh, sure. She yelled at that scooper on Twitter. I like her. And she did some Succession. She directed one of the episodes in season 3. So.
The Disruption.
The Disruption.
You know what that is?
Yeah, I'm not sure, and this is not in her IMDb page just yet. So, but that sounds like something that would happen, is they would try to do this. So let's hope it works out. And yeah, so we got Marvels next week. Everybody, get excited for that. Do you guys have anything to plug, DJ?
Yeah, Roses and Rejections. We're heading toward for Golden Bachelor. We are headed toward Sex Week. So
yeah, everybody get ready for Senior Fuck Week.
Mm-hmm.
We want to see those elephant skin rugs going at it.
I want every little hotel they have in Sex Island to have a bathroom with 2 bathtubs standing up on little legs next to each other so they can sit in the bathtubs and hold hands.
Oh my god.
You know, like old people do instead of having sex.
Jesus. Yeah, so that's happening. Also, Michelle's very happy. Our Roses and Rejections Twitter account got retweeted by the official Golden Bachelor account, like ABC's Golden Bachelor account. So yeah, Michelle was stoked.
Wow, you've hit the big time.
Yeah.
How soon before DJ's too big for us?
Oh no, it's the real question is, how soon is it before Michelle's too big for me?
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna get left behind in this.
That's how it's gonna go. She's gonna get the rose and you're gonna get the rejection. That'll be the last episode of the show.
Yeah.
Wait, now that I think about it, not that this is related to that, but it's related to kind of real stuff on TV. We have a Survivor Pool update.
Oh my gosh.
You gotta be getting close to the end, right?
Yeah, so
it's gonna go all the way to the Super Bowl, baby.
Nice.
I mean, is this the longest, or week 10?
It's pretty long.
Yeah, let me just pull up the Eliminator Challenge. I do check every week. Okay, so we're at 6 left.
Wow.
Ooh-wee.
Incredible.
Yeah, so yeah, we got 6 people left. So yeah. I mean, it's probably gonna be Entourage, but we'll see.
Yeah. My dead body.
I mean, Diggins, you cannot defy the people. This is a legitimate contest that we run, and you cannot sully it by turning it down if they pick Entourage.
We've never lied to the people before.
That's true.
So I mean, good luck to everyone. We started with 100 people. So good luck to everyone who's remaining. And yeah, I guess pick Entourage if you win. But yeah, week 10, 7 people left. It's really exciting. So yeah, I'll try to give more regular updates. But thank you for asking about that, Nando.
Yeah, I am shocked. I hope the 7 of you or 6 of you guys, if you have like, good luck or whatever. But
Yeah,
if you
best
win
luck to
it,
everyone
please let us know. Put it in the Discord and stuff, because
yeah.
Because
otherwise
otherwise,
notifications.
we'll never know.
We have no way of knowing because stupid way ESPN runs this.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll do a different one next year, but it's just so easy. But I say that every year.
Diggins, do you have anything to plug?
Nope. What about you, Nando?
Maybe. I can't remember when we did the last one of these, but no, probably not. I guess I put a video out where I said a lot of the things we just said on the Nando Cut channel, which is the video "Did the Finale Save Loki Season 2?" So that exists, but I mean, and you should definitely still watch it if you're here, because you're gonna love it.
You should definitely watch it and like it and subscribe.
That's right.
Hit the bell, hit the button, all the stuff.
I also did a video people requesting after the actor strike ended, called "One Last Look at the Superman Legacy and Fantastic Four Casts Before the Cast Apocalypse." So like I kind of looked at what some of the rumors are, because it seems like we're probably going to find out about those this week. At least Fantastic Four. The rumors are we'll get an announcement by the end of the week. So there's that video exists. I have a feeling my next video won't be out before the next podcast. Speaking of podcast, you guys, new Ghostbusters trailer came out. I don't know if you guys saw that, but no podcast in it as of yet. It's all the people want, but probably before, like after that, my next video will be out. So I don't know, keep an eye on Nando Cut and Nando View Movies and Nebula and all that stuff. But yeah, that's all I got until next week. I've been at Nando View Movies on Twitter.
I'm at Zippy by Day.
I'm at This Is an Odd Name.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Woo!
Bye.